And good morning. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. Griffin's here, and it's Friday, so Stan the Fan Charles in a shirt he borrowed from Bill Walton, I believe. Did you guys go to the Grateful Dead show together when you got that, or?
I can't comment on
Oh, no.
because
there were some activities
after the concert.
I heard a lot of
him trying to get in to see Garcia, and they were saying he's passed away, and I want Garcia.
I'm not sure that Bill Walton is fully convinced that that's accurate.
Right. He thinks they're holding him.
Correct.
He's in QAnon. You know, he agrees with certain parts of QAnon.
Oh, okay, certain parts of it. I was going to say, I don't think Bill Walton's gone full QAnon. I don't think that's the case. I saw that Van Valkenburg, before he left ESPN, was involved in a story that they're telling about these athletes who go to this like retreat to use therapeutic psychedelic mushrooms. And I was wondering if maybe that was what had occurred, and that was why you
Bill Walton's in that story.
Exact. Well, I don't know that Bill Walton's in the story, but something tells me that at some point in his life, I don't know if they were therapeutic. I think they might have just been recreational.
I was talking to my cousin, Ron Matz.
Yes, of course.
Yesterday, and
Baltimore broadcasting legend.
And we were talking about ESPN. Apparently, they're in for some rather significant cuts.
Okay.
Like over 100 people.
It's been a year, so sure.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Right.
That seems like it's a yearly. So we started talking about the Athletic and how our views of whether that could make it or not. And then I'd forgotten the New York Times bought them.
Yes.
Small piece of the equation. But we were talking how extensive their coverage is on everything. And then he looks, he goes, here's a tweet. The Athletic has a deep dive into the dark side of women's hockey at Harvard.
Oh, I think I did see that story. Actually, that story was really that was really awful. In fact,
it was
a really awful story.
But it's fascinating that they have the depth of coverage.
Now that story is important coverage. I saw a story this week on the Athletic that was going in deep into how Jimmy Butler found an espresso grinder in Milwaukee, and I said. Look, man, I'm not sure about it's important.
Maybe there's some dark side to it.
Yeah, there might be a dark. I'm like,
dark coffee.
Did this require 1,000 words? Yeah, right. Could this not have been a tweet? I'm sure you've been in a lot of meetings in your life where you found yourself saying, this definitely could have been an email. Yeah. Like, this definitely just could have been, hey, gang, here's what's going on. We'll see you next week. Yeah. Something like that. It felt like that story, all well and good. I don't know why I read it. I kept thinking, there's got to be something here. It showed up in, my timeline. Jimmy Butler's search for espresso or something. I'm like, well.
Was it only in Miami that he was searching, or everywhere?
When they got to Milwaukee,
he was searching.
He was looking for an espresso grinder, and it was a story about his search for an espresso grinder for a couple of days. I'm like,
that's the grave digging they teach us in journalism school.
I kept waiting for there to be something that was relevant about it. I'm like, what am I missing?
And then you got to the end,
and I was like, they just got me to read 1,000 words about a dude wanting some coffee. Why do I care?
So he was looking for an espresso grinder on the road?
He apparently, Jimmy Butler, has his own coffee company. Is obsessed with coffee. He's a coffee-obsessed person. Okay. And so when he goes on the road, he wants to...
kind of like Bill Walton on acid.
And mushrooms, exactly right. He wants to grind his own espresso beans, apparently. Gotcha. And so since they were going to be in Milwaukee for a week, he got there and sent his team in search of... And this is what here's
that's a good use of a posse.
That's correct. Yeah. Why have a team if you can't send them out after an espresso grinder? I get the sense that the guy who wrote the story maybe is friends with the coffee shop owner that got Jimmy Butler the espresso grinder, and he was like, well, there's something, it's tangential enough that I could use this as an excuse to write a story about it, because there's nothing there.
Right.
I just kept reading, and nothing ever came from it. There was nothing. It was just some guy who owned a coffee shop.
You're too smart for your own good in a circumstance like that. You had to believe
that there was
something. There's a reason,
and all it was just Jimmy Butler getting an espresso grinder. That's end of story. That's where it ends.
Maybe that's an experiment that they put stories like that out and say, "Hey, now we'll tweet this out and see
Because we do so much really important journalism that it'll get a guy like me to believe that there's really important journalism to be had within this story. I'm really putting it over today, too. All of a sudden, people are going to be searching for the Jimmy Butler espresso. Don't. There's nothing there. He got some espresso. End of story.
Did his espresso grinder that he usually uses, did it break? I mean,
I guess it's tough.
Or he just forgot to pack
no,
it.
I guess
so
it's very heavy, so he doesn't like traveling with it.
He just likes to buy. So he probably left the one behind in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I don't.
That he got.
I think he just borrowed it for the week.
Oh, okay.
It's not. There's Stan. Whatever you think it is, it's not. There's nothing there. Nothing. Nothing.
I'm looking for some redeeming value.
I swear to God, I'm going to send Griffin to read the story later today, and then be like, "Wow, you were right. There's really nothing there." They did 1,000 words on it. 1,000 words on Jimmy Butler looking for an espresso grinder.
I bet we could do an interesting interview with the guy, though.
The writer of the story,
and maybe like double it up with having the writer on
and the guy that provided the espresso grinder. It's a big. We are getting to the bottom of the biggest stories today. Yeah. We are going to be all over it. We do have a couple of really good guests scheduled for today's show. Rob Friedman. Look, I do not know exactly how Rob Friedman got to become the pitching ninja. I did a little bit of background on it. I know he coached high school baseball, and it might have been related to one of his sons trying to become a pitcher that made him interested. I do want to ask him more about that.
He went to law school.
He went to law school. He was a lawyer.
He's a 54-year-old lawyer.
And just had an interest in pitching specifically.
Now, I read a piece last night because Griffin was kind enough to let me know what we got in store. It was a New York
We're
Times
trying a new thing where we produce the show. It's a new thing we're going to give a shot to, where we're going to produce the show.
You mean the thing that Paul and Kyle didn't do?
Look, Stan, 1 out of 3 ain't bad, okay?
We love them to death,
we do.
Producing.
Right.
To this day,
they both worked very hard. I don't want to make it seem like I'm taking a shot at either Paul or Kyle. Very hard work.
We kid because we love, right? To this day, Rich Dubrov always, whenever anything involved with moving things around, he says there's nobody better than Kyle Ottenheimer at moving things.
You know
around.
what? I will agree with that because regularly we have things pop up.
Yep.
That hey, I get he gets a text back at.
I
10 a.m.
can do 10:30, and you already have a guest.
Right.
You know that you're not going to get this.
And
guy.
I will give Kyle credit. His bedside manner was good, right? Like in those situations, he was very like, "Hey, here's what's going on. Let me explain to you what's happening. Could you please? Is it possible to work with us? If not, we understand." Kyle had very good bedside manner, so Rich makes a good point about that.
Yeah. I will say one thing about Kyle that was incredibly annoying.
All right. Let's dump all over him.
Whenever I either was a guest on your show or I sat in, like with him for a week.
Yeah.
His voice, like when he's just off to the side, you're supposed to like, hey, this is Stan. I'm Glenn's producer. Yeah. He was. Hey, this is Kyle Ottenheimer.
Okay, in fairness, he's got that voice. I don't know that he can turn it off. I think that, legally
he couldn't. And I'm doing an interview, and I'm going, I can't concentrate.
I understand that. Sometimes Griffin will forget to turn his mic off when he goes to call a guest.
Yeah.
So that'll be a little bit of
That's different. That's just
it's an error, right? Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Rob Friedman, the pitching ninja, he did a video he does obviously the Twitter videos, and he does a billion of those every day. He was doing a bunch of Kyle Bradish videos the other night, and he does those overlay videos.
Does he like Kyle?
Would seem like it in those videos. But again,
what's not to like?
The Twitter videos are more. He doesn't like Kyle Ottenheimer though. That's the problem. He's got a big. That's why we just finally got him on.
He hasn't heard of Paul Valley.
He's got some thoughts. The overlay video is the one that he's really famous for, where he shows both two different pitches that a pitcher throws, the release point, and how difficult it is for a hitter to recognize which pitch is coming because the release is so good for both of them. But he did a YouTube video really getting into Felix Bautista's splitter, which has just this insane whiff rate, like at this point this season. So I want to talk to him about that. I'm interested. I've look, like everybody else, I have followed the content of the pitching ninja significantly on Twitter.
So there was a story online, if you Google the pitching ninja, you know, and it comes up, it's about the 10th thing. It's a New York Times did a story on him in 2021. At that time, his son was playing for Georgia. I believe, baseball for the University of Georgia.
So I did get the sense that some of this was when his son was coming up, trying to help his son improve as a pitch. Like I'm fascinated by the guy. He fascinates me, and it's a pretty neat story about somebody just taking a passion and turning it into a career. So I think it's a neat story. And then later on in the show, speaking of pitchers, someone who's having just a bonkers season, Mike Bauman's going to join us a little bit later on in the show. Griff, it's so funny because a week ago we were all panicked about Orioles pitching. And then Griff and I were sitting here the other day when they needed to make a roster move in order to get Kyle Bradish back, and we're going over the list and we're like,
who would you?
Yeah, but who's going to go?
Right.
And we're like running. Well, you don't. The only guy that we could agree with that could have gone was Voth, but the problem is he's your long guy. Right. So that's why Logan Gillespie, who I get, like, is not a world beater.
And Voth is out of options.
Correct.
Yeah. So
it's just more at this point, I think you could live if you didn't have Voth. Like, I think that you could find another Austin Voth somewhere. I think that was more but I get it. He's also, you have to have somebody there that if for whatever reason your guy gets knocked out in the first inning can give you 3 to 4 innings at that point.
It's interesting. Baumann.
I guess Baumann would default to that guy.
Baumann was so far off my radar because I'm constantly talking about shifting starters to relievers. He is not somebody I ever gave a thought to, and it's working almost magically.
It's incredible. It's unbelievable the season he's having. He is, in 10 innings this season, Mike Baumann has allowed, 1 earned run?
Right.
6 hits, 5 walks. So
how many strikeouts?
10 strikeouts.
10 strikeouts. Yeah, his minor league numbers for 423 innings or something, he struck out 431 or more innings.
So we're going to talk to him about how this has worked so well this season. Hopefully we won't jinx it. Hopefully he's not going to say, hey, shut up. I don't want to talk about it afterwards.
Well, it'd be interesting to talk to. It also sounds like Baumann, the one thing he doesn't have is great ground ball rates, is how a pitcher who statistically is aware, the club and the pitcher are aware he's not getting the percentage of grounders.
By the way, is it now? Yeah, you got me messed up. Is it Baumann? It might be Baumann now that I think about it.
I've gone both ways.
We got to make sure.
I think it's Baumann.
I think I thought it was Baumann, and then all right, we'll look into it. We're gonna get Griffin. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do some show producing today. That's what we're gonna do today.
Off the side, he'll whisper to him. By the way,
yes, just so you guys know.
Yeah, and out me. Don't say Glenn didn't know.
Right.
Say our co-host today, Stan the Fan, doesn't.
Well, the funny thing is, I know we've had him on the show like 100 times before, so I don't know why it is. Anyway, that's all coming up on the program today. Really quickly, I'm not moving the Lamar-O-Meter today. We're just going to leave it. We're going to leave it at 95. Lamar-O-Meter brought to you by Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports. There was nothing in the last.
Tyler
24
Huntley
hours.
doesn't help.
What
move the needle?
What would that?
Did they sign him or?
Yeah. Yes. He's coming back. Tyler Huntley is.
What way do you want that to be impactful?
Means because he's good friends with them, so goes up half a percentage.
And okay, I got nothing for you. 95 is the number. Yes, Tyler Huntley is going to sign his restricted tender on Monday, apparently, and report to the Ravens. So
how much will he make this year, roughly? Like $2.5, $3 million?
Maybe that's what it is. $2.6 million is what he'll make.
That's a great job.
If you can find the work, I would take it.
Yeah.
But that just allows them to have when they get together for OTAs, they'll have a quarterback in camp in order to be able to throw the ball to somebody. I guess Anthony Brown would have been there too, but they'll now have multiple quarterbacks in camp.
That story it pops up the minute you put in the pitching ninja. It's like the 10th thing down. It's how Rob Friedman became the pitching ninja. March 11th, 2021.
Okay. All right. So, yes, I'm not moving the Lamar-O-Meter, Stan. I just want to get that out of the way. Glory Days Grill brings us the Lamar-O-Meter, and we love them. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
The Glory Days Grill always trends up.
Oh, 195% for Glory Days Grill. I was over there the other day with the cauliflower wings. I did the honey Old Bay on the cauliflower wings. That was delightful. Always encourage you to get over to your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
By the way, speaking of Lamar, last night Gary Stein was unable to be in with us, but I ended up with Ken Zales last night. We did an interesting, wasn't a deep dive into the draft that like naming untold players and where they're going to go. We talked specifically about the Ravens, their 22 draft, what they might do to get more picks than the 5 that they have currently, and whether a quarterback could be a consideration at a certain point. And we also talked a little bit about Ajabo. I was asking Ken, could you almost include him as a draft pick, a wild card? And he says, well, you really can't do that. But any analysis of this draft, you have to factor in Roquan Smith because that's why you gave up the number 2 pick.
Right. You know. No question.
You know,
we will.
Interesting.
Look, we'll come back to the draft. Let me come back to it because this is the last show you and I will do before the draft. I want to just start with the Orioles pitching.
Wait a minute. This is the last show we're doing?
No, before the draft.
Oh.
I said before. Yeah, right. Well, I got some bad news.
Yeah.
As you said, you're going to do this show. Stan said he was going to do this show till he.
There are big cuts coming in the press box.
Stan said he was going to do this show until he dies. So
taking Stan out back today.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. A week ago, as I mentioned, we were all panicked about Orioles pitching. Since the second inning on Sunday, they haven't allowed a run. Which is more relevant to you, the start to the season for the Orioles pitching, or the fact that since Sunday they haven't allowed a single run?
Which is more? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
What are my options?
Are you still more concerned about Orioles pitching because of how poor it was, or are you more convinced that that was a blip on the radar and that they have righted the ship because of what they've done since the second inning?
The quality of pitching we've gotten from Michael Baumann, Danny Colomb, and now Grayson Rodriguez, and factor in the games.
Well, I would throw Yenier Cano into that conversation.
Yeah, I forgot him, of course. Yenier Cano, and the way that Kramer and Bradish pitch as starters this week has me like if there were a Orioles pitching meter, it would be like 84.
Wow.
82%.
Wow.
Right now.
That is a bold bump.
Confident. Because they've got 2 really good arms coming back, and we're scratching our heads. Who are you going to get rid of? One thing I've learned in watching Mike Elias operate, we finally have a guy. When he makes a deal, it's somehow he gets something thrown into every trade he makes that is aha. There's like an aha moment down the road. You know, one of our largest investors originally in Pressbox was a guy, he passed away in the last year, Brad Mills. And Brad always used to talk about in business when the whale oil comes.
Okay.
You know, meaning like you all of a sudden you get this surprise. The ship comes in and it's got whale oil.
Okay, all right.
Yenier Cano has to fit. When they acquired him, I said, okay, throw in. I mean, I think he had last year, wasn't it like a 9 ERA in the minors or something like that?
I saw nothing that suggested that this was a guy.
Yeah.
And when they brought him up, we were all saying, why? Like, I think the reaction was, why wouldn't this just be DL Hall? Why wouldn't you just bring DL Hall up at this point?
Oh, because they're busy.
I know, they're stretching him out. I understand. They're stretching him out, Stan. That's what they're working on, and we'll see whenever that comes to fruition. Yeah. I mean, he's been a marvel. He's been an absolute revelation. What he did, they put this dude in with 2 runners on base the other night, and he was just like, okay, cool.
I said this on my show the other day I did with Ross. It reminds me of one of the things that I most liked about Earl Weaver, too, is because all of us were scratching our head when he used Gillespie in a key situation on Saturday, and it didn't work out. And then on Sunday, we're going, geez whiz, he's really got, this is what he's got? Well, first of all, you've got a limited number of people that you can go to begin with. 2 of your best are hurt, and the starters aren't giving you the innings they need. But the one thing Earl Weaver always did, and this is what made him a great manager, is when he had a player on his roster, he had confidence in that player being able to step up and perform, or he lobbied to not have that guy on his roster.
Yeah,
and I like that about Brandon Hyde.
Don't give me somebody that I can't use in a real situation. Yep. We remember under Buck there was often the A bullpen and the B bullpen, right? Like the A bullpen was the guys that you would use. The B bullpen was for if a game was out of hand one way or the other, then we'd use those guys to the point where these are the guys we have. If they're here, then I've got to be able to use them.
I've got to be able to use them, you know.
It's a fair point to make. I actually wonder, as we're just sort of wondering out loud, does CNL Perez still have options? Because that legitimately would probably be the guy to go at this point, right? Like,
well, he or Aiken probably.
Yeah,
because Aiken seemed, and it's not a criticism of Aiken's pitching.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't there's a maximum, right? You can only have 13 pitchers.
Yes. Yeah, you can't send a position player back in order to pull another pitcher up. And I guess there's an argument that maybe you could make Aiken your long man if you wanted Voth to be the one to go. But to your point, if Voth is out of options, then you keep him as your long man, and Aiken's the guy to go.
And while it's not a fortune, I think they're paying Voth like $1.8 million, or something like $1.7 million,
Yep.
and they'd have to eat that, and they don't seem
like
like they want to.
It's not the type of thing that they tend to like to do.
Right.
I don't disagree with that. So you are of the belief that this is
he's out of options.
Perez?
Perez is out of options. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do there. Like, look, it's early, so there's still time. But at some point, you're going to have to make some sort of decision on guys because
the one other option, seriously, if all of a sudden Gibson is pitching, and let's not forget Cole Irvin in the mix somehow.
Mm-hmm. He wasn't great in his first minor league start. He
6 innings, 3 ERA, so he gave up 2 runs in 3 innings, and I think he had 2 or 3 strikeouts. But let's not jump overboard on the fact that they've given up on him.
No, I don't think so at all. Right?
They had a desperate major league situation on their hands. But you know who else is an option? Perhaps would be Grayson Rodriguez. Remember, they want to control his innings to begin with. If the starting in a week's time or 10 days' time, the starting pitching is humming along, he might be the guy that goes down one more time, and it's explained to him. We want you to get in. We want you to stay sharp. You're going to pitch one time over the next 2 weeks down there. And it's a way to shave some time off the clock.
They only have one off day between now and May 10th.
Right.
It's weird. The schedule's so dumb. They have 2 off days this week, and now they have one off day between now and May 10th. It drives me nuts with that stupid schedule. And really, they have 2 off days between now and May 22nd. They had 2 off days this week. Now they have 2 total off days between now and May 22nd. So they're going to need 5 starters for a significant amount of time. They're not going to have the ability. Although I would make the argument that those off days you might start trying to get clever now about when you skip Grayson Rodriguez starts if your other starters are pitching well.
Are humming along.
If Kramer continues to pitch well, if Bradish pitches as well as, obviously he pitched this week.
And as sure as we're sitting here, Glenn, there's going to crop up some injury.
Of course, an injury is going to come up. But to the greater point, you believe that this is a stabilization of Orioles pitch. Colson, I think I fixed it, by the way. It's a stable.
You can go back home, Colson.
Yeah, right. Thanks for nothing. In fact, you got to do it. We have to shame you. We have to walk you out in the streets and shame you. You believe this is a stabilization, and on the whole,
I like this pitching staff and where it's going right now.
Okay.
I think, Chris Holt and the team they've assembled around the pitching and maximizing what people do. To me, that's a cover story next year. It's how Chris, what the secret sauce is what I would call it.
All right,
tentatively.
I'm not opposed to that whatsoever.
And I get John Panisi, who did the artwork,
right for this current print issue of Press Box.
We've come up with some kind of sauce thing, a theme, like a can. Okay,
I'm listening. I'm listening. All right, I'm listening.
The secret sauce.
You can go get that print issue, by the way, right now at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. Read it all at PressBoxOnline.com as we look into the pipeline that's still very much there, despite the fact that Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Grayson Rodriguez all came up. There is still a lot to be had.
Lot to like.
We had Heston Kjerstad on the show yesterday, of course, who has been just unbelievable. That story alone of where we were thinking that was a wasted pick to now legitimately being able to buy into the idea that Heston Kjerstad is absolutely a middle-of-the-order bat in the major leagues, given how ridiculous his numbers have been dating back to the Fall League, is just an unbelievable story.
The fascinating story again, and I did a Zoom about 3 weeks ago with Eric Garfield, the former Snowball King of Sarasota from Baltimore, but lives in Sarasota. Actually, technically lives in Bradenton.
Let's get it right.
But he gave me insights, and I don't know if you talked to Heston about that, but how hard this kid worked by himself. all he had to go against was Eric kind of covering him and being there. Eric wanted to do a story on a coffee grinder that Heston Kjerstad was looking for in Sarasota.
We could have used Jimmy Butler's while Jimmy was off in Milwaukee.
No, but this kid, it didn't happen by accident that he got all that lost time back. He has no rust on him now.
It's unbelievable the numbers he's putting up. And all these guys that we're talking about and that are covered in this print issue, you can go see them this summer, and we're trying to hook you up here at PressBox. You want to go see all of Maryland's minor league baseball parks? We're giving you the chance to check them all out. Head over right now to PressBoxOnline.com/contests.
Not offers.
Not offers. We'll get to that.
Okay.
We're going to do that too. But this one is PressBoxOnline.com/contests, and you can sign up to win 4 tickets to each of the local minor league baseball teams, plus an Easy Pass Maryland on-the-go transponder preloaded with $25 to help you out on your way, and a $50 gas card from Royal Farms to help you get around. You must be 18 or older to enter, and the sweepstakes ends June 14th. But get over to PressBoxOnline.com/contests right now to sign up and go check out all the minor league parks this summer.
You think my chances are good?
I do not believe you're eligible, Griffin.
I'm not
eligible.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
All right, I'll have to
you.
use my pseudonym.
What if we fired him now?
Okay, all right. We can do that. You
Yeah.
want to do that? Mike Bordick brought something up to me the other day, Stan, before we get to Rob Friedman.
Yep.
He's, it's funny because a year ago, everybody was all up in arms every time Adley Rutschman was out of the lineup. He says he's actually a bit concerned about the fact that he hasn't had an off day so far this year. 18 games played. Adley Rutschman has played all 18 games for the Orioles this season. Now, he hasn't caught, obviously, all 18 games for the Orioles this season, but he has played all 18 games. Are you at...
Wasn't he out of the lineup one game? I mean, maybe he came in the 8th inning or 7th
maybe
inning.
one. He has I don't know. He's got 18 starts listed.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't...
Doesn't sound correct to me.
I think
I've got the score sheets at home of all.
He's listed as making 18 starts on MLB.com, so he's at least listed as starting every game so far this season. Are you Adley Rutschman has been beyond everything that we could have ever expected from him? Are you at all concerned about the fact that he has been used as significantly as he's been used, and on top of that, he's caught 13 of them?
Right.
He has really been worked so far this season.
Not at his age. I'm not particularly that concerned with it, and it's clear that manager Brandon Hyde really is on top of the usage that he gets behind the plate. So I'm not that worried about it right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I am not. It wasn't something that was on my radar necessarily. And clearly, it doesn't seem to have impacted him at all so far this season. But I get the argument that at some point during the year, there's a chance that maybe that can start to wear on you at some point, especially when you are the most important bat in the lineup.
I think that comes into play like when you start getting weather like we're supposed to have today, 90 degrees, when you get a lot of starts in a row in Baltimore
that starts
at 90 degrees.
All right. We will monitor that, see what the impact is. This is our first ever opportunity to catch up with this guest and somebody whose content I've obviously been taking in significantly over the years. And
been addicted to it.
I mean, dude, when he does these overlay videos, you just watch them over and over and over again. They're incredible. And he did some content about Felix Bautista about a week and a half back that really caught my eye. And I said, I'd really like to chat with this guy. You know him as the Pitching Ninja on Twitter. He's Rob Friedman, and he is with us now here on GCR. Rob, it's Glenn and Stan in Baltimore. Really enjoy your work. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Hey, man, before we get into Bautista, and you did some Bradish videos the other night, for people that don't know your story, because it's so fascinating to me, I love the fact that you're someone who took a passion and turned it into a later-in-life career. Can you give us the sort of, I don't know, it's 30-second version of how Rob Friedman became the Pitching Ninja?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that one out because, I was just coaching travel baseball and high school baseball just on the side. I mean, I was a lawyer and started tweeting stuff, just like stuff I learned because I wasn't this great baseball player. My son's very good and played at Georgia Tech, but it was like I taught all these kids and just tried to learn the truth about pitching as opposed to like what I was taught or what everyone else was taught, and started sharing it on Twitter, and it just started taking off, not only with just normal folks, but like MLB guys started chiming in and asking me questions and stuff. And like, I didn't expect any of it. So it just got big overnight. And, it's been, that's kind of the story.
One of the things that's such a story is the word ninja. If you had said the pitching guru or the pitching lawyer, nobody would have paid attention. Where did you come up with using the word ninja?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If it was pitching lawyer, I'd have no followers.
Right.
That would be the worst name ever. But it came from my son was wearing a bandana around his mouth. It was like a cold day, and one of our other coaches said, you look like a ninja. You should be the ninja, because my wife's Japanese and got a half Japanese, half American kid. So, and then he didn't like it, and I'm like, dude, I'm the ninja. I'm the coach, so I'll be pitching ninja.
I mean,
that's literally how it happened.
There it is. There it is. History was made that day. But before we get to Felix Bautista, the part that you just brought up there, it's one thing for people to enjoy your content on the internet. When Yu Darvish is reaching out to you, like when you have these scenarios, dude, like, do you find yourself just sort of pinching yourself? Like, what is my life?
Yeah, like literally all the time. I don't, it's one of those cool things, and it's why I drop everything, no matter who it is. Like any MLB guy that reaches out for something, it's not something I would ever even dream of charging for or anything. It's just like an honor to be asked. So I always think it's really cool, and I love it. Like every time that happens, I'm totally in shock.
It's so cool. It's so cool, man. Rob is now involved with Peacock and MLB Network and MLB.com and FanDuel and Fox. It's just incredible, the work that you're doing. Rob, you did this video and you brought up the whiff rate for Felix Bautista's splitter. How can, like, knowing now what you know, how can you explain what it is, the Felix Bautista, who was never on anybody's radar necessarily, other than he was really big, of course, what he's been able to do with this pitch, that only all it does is offset the fact that he can also hurl it in at like 1,000 miles an hour when he wants to.
Isn't that one of the cool things about baseball? I mean, it's almost like the story I just told about me. It's like these guys you can come out of nowhere. You're never totally written off. And he obviously had a lot of talent, big dude, and just put it together. Why do we categorize people early in their careers like, oh, you're not going to make it, when you just don't know? And, obviously has a ton of tools, and it's ridiculous stuff.
It's interesting, Rob. We've got a pitcher we're going to have on later in the show who was about 5-6 years ago was sort of the bright shining star in the Orioles minor league, system. Michael Baumann, and Baumann is finally in the major leagues with a steady job. They've moved him into being a relief pitcher. How many stories are there out there of guys that just something slightly askew and then they change something and all of a sudden they make it?
Yeah, it's more than you would think, and it's actually one of the holes in scouting that you'll see is a lot of scouts traditionally, they categorize somebody and then they just write them off and don't think that they could ever get better. And a lot of times it's just this guy working hard for himself. Like, I don't want to give up yet.
Yep. There's
something here, and I keep digging and digging, and they find it, but yet they may be off every scout's radar. It's not just people in MLB organizations. It's guys that have never made it and never made an organization that later in life, 29, 30, figure it out, and all of a sudden they're good.
Rob Friedman, the pitching ninja, is with us here on GCR. Rob, let me go back to this. When Zach Britton was in Baltimore, his sinker was maybe the most unhittable pitch in baseball. It was like I would sit down to watch baseball knowing I'm going to get the joy. I felt like I was watching Led Zeppelin do, Kashmir or something like that, right? Like, it was that incredible seeing Zach Britton throw that sinker. Are we getting to that place with Felix? Like, when that whiff rate is nuts with what Felix Bautista is doing with the splitter. Are we getting to the place where it's one of the more unhittable pitches in all of baseball?
Oh, I don't think there's much of a doubt about it. Like, when Bautista gets on the bump, I drop everything. So he's one of those guys. If I'm dropping everything, that means he's at that point. Like, I know there's something I may never see again or have seen before that's going to happen when he pitches. So absolutely we're getting there with him and his splitter, and the combination of that and his fastball just crazy. And he, even can work in a slider every once in a while. Like, I don't know what you do against that dude.
What are the other most unhittable pitches in baseball right now, Rob?
I love Devin Williams' airbender.
Yeah.
Number one, because I came up with the name.
Right.
But two, it's just it's a ridiculous pitch. Shohei's sweeper is one of them. Just the break on that thing, but combined with his 100-mile-an-hour fastball, makes it really tough. Those are ones that kind of jump out off the top of my head.
I'm fascinated by, you just said you have to stop everything when Felix Bautista pitches. How many pitchers are there right now that, like, when they're either when they're starting or when they come into a game, how deep is that list of guys at the moment that you say, I don't care what's going on, I'm stopping everything because this dude is pitching?
Unfortunately for my life, it's growing and growing, so that I have to drop everything all the time. But I'm saying it's maybe 20 pitchers that I would do that for. Like, it's like, Shohei or Spencer Strider on the bump starting, DeGrom starting, guys like that, or Duran for the Twins. Like, you think 100-mile-an-hour basically splitters is not fair either. Like, that's crazy.
Right.
Rob, in the era of, metrics, statistics, analysis, and all that, one of the clear things that people love to see on a pitcher is a high strikeout rate coupled with a high ground ball rate. Do you ever see a pitcher that is not getting a ground ball rate that teams would really like to have him at? Do you know how to tell him how to throw to get ground balls, what he's got to do? Are you that technically savvy in terms of teaching the art of pitching?
I definitely can help with it. The problem with it is they can be mutually exclusive, because what gets you whiffs doesn't necessarily get you ground balls. I mean, you're talking about a lot of elevated fastballs and sweepers that can be hit in the air. When you have a high-moving, high velocity pitch like Bautista's that moves downward, and moves downward combined with a fastball that holds its plane, that's really what you're looking for. Like, it's a perfect combination. But other guys with nasty stuff, you have like Dustin May, who's got nasty stuff, even Jordan Hicks, don't have ridiculous strikeout rates because they rely on sinkers a lot.
Okay.
And that's just, getting ground balls, but they don't get the whiffs.
He is Rob Friedman, the pitching ninja. He's with us here on GCR. Rob, you were clearly watching Kyle Bradish the other day, and Bradish had a great start to his career a year ago, but unfortunately got hurt in his first start this year. What did you see in that first start as far as his arsenal is concerned and his ability to back up what he did to begin his career?
I really liked his off-speed stuff. I thought it was wicked, and it reminded me of why I liked him so much. I thought he looked great. And I'm looking for him to have to jump back on that horse and have a great year.
That's the pitching ninja saying that, by the way, so we can take that to the bank. That's the way that works.
Take it to the bank, exactly.
I'm curious. We here have been sort of waiting with great anticipation for Grayson Rodriguez to make his Major League debut. Pitched 10, 12 days ago against Jacob deGrom in Texas in an afternoon game, and it wasn't great, but he got over that hump. Then his second start against the White Sox this past weekend gives up 4 runs in the first inning, and we're going, okay, he's back to Norfolk to get ready. And then all of a sudden, the real Grayson Rodriguez showed up. Were you able to watch any of that?
I watched the whole thing, and this is the thing about young pitchers, and it's tough with fans because fans want to win now, and you have to be patient and go through the bumps and bruises of being with a young pitcher that has crazy stuff. I look at stuff, and I thought his number one, his changeup really stood out to me as carrying him through that last start and just dominating with that. Because you combine that with an upper 90s fastball, it's a nightmare. So I look at stuff and continuing to improve throughout the year, but you're gonna have road bumps. It's just not always gonna go straight up and down. Just be patient with this dude because he's going to be an absolute stud.
To follow up on what Stan said, obviously the first inning's been a problem for him, both in Chicago and back in Texas, that start against deGrom. Is it when we talk about nerves, like, is he just not making his pitches in those moments? Like, what is it that you've noticed that's been the issue in the first inning specifically with Grayson?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the perils of being a young pitcher. He's figuring it out. And the biggest thing to me isn't how you start in those games, it's how you finish. Eventually you figure it out because what they do right is leave him out there. He struggles at the beginning. You could pull him and say, you know what, I've seen enough. Let's bring on the next guy. We're going to win this game. Versus letting him figure it out. So next time he's in that situation, he can say, I figured it out last time. I can do this again. And eventually that window of the first inning gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and he can keep it consistent throughout the whole start. So great job coaching him with that and having patience because, you know, you got to invest in these guys and let them make mistakes because that's the way they're going to overcome it later in their career.
Rob, I'm wondering, we asked you who your must-see pitchers are.
Mm-hmm.
If you had 5 pitching coaches, you had a team, and you wanted to put together who the staff is, who are the top 5 pitching coaches you think there are in baseball right now? Because to me, Chris Holt's got to be one of them.
He would definitely be one of them. I think he's done a fantastic job. I'd put Strom up there. Brent Strom has been generally fantastic. I know that Caleb Cotham knows what he's doing as far as just like coaching pitchers. Really, really smart young mind. I don't want to leave anybody out, so I don't want to go through a list, but that's kind of off the top of my head.
Okay.
This is pretty obviously the results in Arizona, except for, of course, Madison Bumgarner, but he's not there anymore. So
Right, it's not his fault.
It's not the problem any longer.
Let me jump in. Do you see any way that Madison Bumgarner can get back to being anywhere
is it
near
is it a
what he
risk, say, that's worth a team that's trying to compete to take?
I mean, I think it's a risk a team, especially to have a guy that can eat up some innings. I don't know that you're ever going to see him back where he was because his velo isn't where it was.
Yeah.
And it's just a natural thing. Like some guys can live without velo. Clayton Kershaw, for example,
Sure,
has been equally as tough as he ever has been without that eye-opening velo. But I think Bumgarner, he does have deception, so I can see that, and with crazy experience. And would you ever pick against him in a postseason? Like he's just always, it's just embedded in your mind how good he was in the postseason. So would you take a chance? Maybe, yeah. But I also can see him never regaining that form.
If I could, before we let you go, and I really appreciate it, Rob, this has been a lot of fun
Really
having you on.
interesting, Rob.
You bring up that I want to go back to for just a second here. As we talk more about all of these guys that you have watched and all these guys that you have done, these is there anything that you, during the course of your career, like a guy that you saw that you were so convinced was something, one way or the other, that has been most drastically different from the first time you analyzed them, the first time you did a video about them? Is there anyone that you say, dude, I can't believe, either from a guy that I was in love with, that which way it's gone since you started doing this a few years ago?
That's a great question. I would say, Coda Glover, I thought had ridiculous stuff and got injured. I expected him to be good for a number of years. Say the reverse, Clay Holmes is somebody that kind of everybody wrote off as being nothing, and he turned himself into a lights out closer. So the guys like that kind of stick out to me, guys that they don't say this. A lot of them historically had been at Pittsburgh for some reason. Tyler Glasnow, Garrett Cole, Charlie Morton. You had a bunch of those guys that are like, oh yeah, whatever. They're never going to be anybody, and they all became something later.
Got it. One last question for you, Rob. How familiar are you with D.L. Hall before I ask my question?
Decently familiar. I've seen him pitch.
Yeah. I did talk radio in Baltimore for like 25 years, and one of the big arguments I got into with assistant general manager Kevin Malone back in the early 90s was that I thought the Orioles should turn Arthur Rhodes into a relief pitcher versus keeping him as sort of a struggling, failed starter. And he would argue, he's got too much talent. P.S. At the end of the day, he's selling cars now out in Los Angeles, Kevin Malone. I mean,
we love Kevin. Kevin's one of the nicest humans ever.
He's general manager of a Mercedes dealership.
One of the nicest guys ever.
The point is, do you have certain pitchers that you say this guy is a relief pitcher, not a starting pitcher?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely happens. Look what happened with Matt Brash, who came up as a starter, struggled, and now the Mariners have him as kind of a ridiculous the relief pitcher piece. I still think he may be able to be a starter somewhere in his career, but why? Like at some point, that's kind of what he should be, right? Like,
Yep.
I definitely think there are those types. There are people that there are pitchers that just like pitching every day or like knowing they can go out there every day versus guys that, live for that once every 5 days type thing. There's a mindset thing. There's a whole bunch of things, and just lightning stuff and not being able to maintain your velocity and stuff throughout a game. Yeah, there are definitely pitchers that are like that. Absolutely.
I always couched it in the term that there are certain pitchers who it benefits to come to the ballpark not knowing whether they're going to pitch. They got to stay on edge rather than have 5 days, 4 or 5 days to worry about how they're going to do something different. The word you used was perfect, mindset.
Yeah, you just nailed it. Like there are definitely guys that they love plotting it out. They love scouting reports and doing their homework and pacing themselves and being ready for that 5th day. Or there are guys that would rather, hey, throw me out there. I don't care. I'm going to go 100 miles an hour for 1 inning, and that's just all I'm going to do. And, it's just a totally different mindset. And some guys just have that killer instinct that they want to go out there and destroy somebody for an inning. And, Bautista is one of those guys.
He is. Rob Friedman, the pitching ninja. Rob, we really appreciate. What can we plug for you? I know you're basically everywhere nowadays.
Oh, I'm everywhere. Like I don't need to be plugged. I'm good.
Hey man,
subscribe to my YouTube
channel.
How about
of course,
that?
YouTube and at Pitching Ninja on Twitter.
Are you still a lawyer, Rob?
Yeah, if we have a problem here.
If you have a problem with your pitches, call me.
All right.
Yeah, I am still a lawyer, by the way. Yes.
Okay.
Hey, man, really awesome chatting with you. Truly enjoy everything, all the content you put out there. It's great stuff, man. Thank you so much for taking some time for us this morning.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Rob Friedman, the pitching ninja with us
Terrific,
here on GCR.
yes.
He was great. He was great. I really enjoyed that. I'm glad we were able to connect with him. I sent Griffin on a bit of a wild goose chase. I was like, hey, this guy's out there. I don't have any contact for him, which is very rare for me. I've got nothing. Find him.
I want to get him on with Ross in maybe like another 6 or 8 weeks.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Interesting
Absolutely.
to
The
talk.
two of them talk together. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Great stuff with Rob Friedman, the pitching ninja. Hey, real quick before we hit this break, where are you with Max Scherzer? Like, this is a controversy? You think that his explanation, there's some reason within that? Where are you with all of it?
I think he did a disservice to his team. And just should have owned up to some form of mea culpa, saying, and he's since dropped his
appeal. Yeah.
Claiming,
which he says, I can't win anyway. The system's rigged.
And he wouldn't win it, but the notion that suddenly somebody's out to get Max Scherzer, apparently there was a dialogue going on for a couple innings where they said, hey, wash your hands. And he came out stickier the third time. So I really don't have much sympathy for him. And I think he did his team a real disservice because so many pitching injuries they have now.
Right.
With Verlander, Carrasco, Quintana, they're really struggling. They do get back Joey Lucchesi is supposed to start tonight's game.
Here's my issue with all of this is, like, I can't compare this to even a steroid I'm still struggling with the sticky stuff concept because so many hitters were like, no, we want these guys to use sticky stuff. We want them to have better control of the ball. So I don't know where the line is between.
That's a different argument, and it's a good point.
What you're doing is manipulation and cheating versus what you're doing is just trying to have grip of the ball in order to have control of it, which, again, the hitters. So I'm in a weird place with, like, how I come down. Max Scherzer's been one of the greatest pitchers of a generation, right? Like, he's arguably the greatest contract ever given to I don't even know if it's arguable. I'm pretty sure he's the greatest contract ever handed out to a big money contract ever handed out to a pitcher. I don't know that I'm going to change the way that I feel about Max Scherzer because of this incident.
No, I don't think he's an out-and-out cheat. I think he's done during his career, but there's a new they're cracking down on this, and for him to put his team in jeopardy for 10 days, I think was really foolish. Shows that there might be something that he needs to have to be Max Scherzer when he's 38, 39 years old.
Understand that.
You know, I had a guest on my radio show maybe 30 years ago, and it was equivalent to pulling out the pitching ninja. It used to be this guy in the Delaware Valley that he supplied the mud to Major League Baseball that they used to rub the balls
that Ernie
with.
Tyler would use to rub up all the balls, right?
And I don't think they use that anymore. And I would ask him, well, what is to take the shine off the ball? But it's really to take the slipperiness.
Correct.
Off
the idea
ball.
is to make it something you can grip better, which is
what you want the pitcher.
Which is why this has always been so weird to me, right? Like I get it. We see some of the stuff that guys are putting on their hats and all that, and you're like, this is way over the top. And yet, only a few hitters there were only a few guys that hitters were like, come on, this is ridiculous. And remember, the pushback from hitters, from many of them, was, I don't want you to get rid of all of it.
Right.
I don't want
them to be able to control
It's just
the
the
baseball.
crazy goop that like we're like, this is way over. So I don't know where this is.
Do you remember the Michael Pineda?
Yes,
where he
that
had all
was
the stuff
very
up
much
on his neck.
That was very high on the list of okay, this is what is this?
But one of the most famous moments in all of baseball is the famous George Brett home run off of Goose Gossage, and they came out and ruled that he couldn't use that bat.
Yep.
He was using an
pine
illegal
tar,
bat because it had pine tar up on the. So.
All right, Stan the Fan is here. As he mentioned, not only this week did he catch up with Ken Zales last night, but he and Ross had Mike Boddicker on the program on Monday. You can find those shows right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports, PressBoxOnline.com/video, or YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. When we come back in, Stan, I want to talk about these experimental rules. I've been talking about them for a couple of days, but you're my baseball guy, so I'm going to let you share your thoughts on what it is they're doing in the Atlantic League this season that clearly Major League Baseball is at least thinking about, because that's the reason why it's happening. We'll do that next. Stan's here. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Remind me what that is. I know I read about it.
Are you a diehard O's fan looking for the perfect way to show your team spirit? Look no further than Birdland Sports. Birdland Sports is a small business run by fans for fans. They offer a wide variety of unofficial O's merchandise, from the Birds Are Coming tees to player cartoon shirts and more. And the best part? Their prices are more affordable than the big guys. So head to birdlandsports.com and grab your gear today. Show your support for the Birds with Birdland Sports.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the pipeline of talent still to come for the Orioles, diving in on last year's #1 pick Jackson Holiday and other top prospects like Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and more. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles Orioles pitcher Kyle Gibson, and Bo Smolka breaks down what progress would mean for the team's 2022 draft picks in their second pro season. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Hartford Community College in Bel Air, Maryland, along with the National Junior College Athletic Association's Region 20, will host the 2023 NJCAA Men's Lacrosse National Championship May 13th and 14th at Hartford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air. Semifinals are on Saturday, May 13th. The National Championship is Sunday, May 14th. Catch the action for $10 each day. Tickets will be available in advance or at the gate on game day. Qualifying teams will be announced.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
If you miss anything on the show, don't forget that you can watch full episodes at youtube.com/pressboxonline, and you can download podcasts on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and Grindr. Wait, did I say Grindr? I don't think that you would find it on Grindr. Not that I know it's on Grindr or anything, I swear. On second thought, you know what? I don't care what you think. Here's Glenn.
All right, back in here on GCR. Stan the Fan Charles in studio with us.
talent on that spot?
That's Paul Valley. That's Paul Valley.
Was
who's
that
on
Paul Valley?
That's Paul Valley, the host of the Bat Around, of course, tomorrow morning. He and Zach will be with you from 10 to noon. Stan will be a part of that. Last time I had Andy on was 21, so I'd be okay. I like Andy. I do. I think he's
got a new
smart.
book out that is perfectly timed. It came
Yeah.
out about a month ago called Goodbye Oakland,
Yep.
about the history of the A's in Oakland.
Hey, the Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Stan, the Atlantic League is going to be experimenting with 3 new rules this season.
Okay.
Now, the reason why they do this, Major League Baseball is partners with the Atlantic League, and they say, hey, we want you to try these things because they're at least considering them. Whether or not they'll ever happen, we don't know. But it starts in the Atlantic League, and let's work through these things. Now, we know the Southern Maryland team is in the Atlantic League. The Waldorf team, the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs, is the Atlantic League.
Yeah.
I forgot that Frederick is adding an Atlantic League team in addition to the Draft League team.
Right.
They're going to have 2 separate teams.
Right.
The Keys are going to be the Draft League team.
And I understand they're going to have a name.
Yes, a
thing
name contest for the
to
Atlantic League team that's going to play in Frederick as well. So there's going to be 2 teams now in Frederick, both playing at Harry Grove Stadium. And
you know, my brother, Alan, his middle name is Frederick.
I did not know
What
that.
do you think about the Frederick Allens?
Or, so anyway,
maybe the worst
we'll
name.
put it on the list, Stan. We'll send it out there and see what. I don't think it's going to be the winner, but there are no bad ideas. I think it's the point.
What was the name of the?
There's
what was the name of the indoor football team that Ted Leonsis brought here?
Brigade, the Baltimore Brigade.
I remember going to his son,
Zach. Yes,
Zach, who's a great guy, and I suggested a name. It was the Baltimore Tugs. You know, tugboats.
Tugboats. Okay. All right. That's better than what I thought you were going, which, got to be honest with you, maybe if Robert Kraft started an indoor, but if he started an indoor football team, maybe they could name it the Tugs and play it in Boston. They could go that route if they wanted to, given his.
So the Frederick Griffins would work, maybe.
All right, so we're just going to move on. All right, it's time to move on to a different topic. Anyway, the Atlantic League is experimenting with 3 rules. There's one that I'm not. 2 of them I think are insane. I mean, utterly insane. The only one that I would say, I'll hear you. I don't think it's necessary, but I at least hear you on.
I love when you ask a question and
I give my opinion.
I
give my opinion. Well, I've been talking about it for 2 days. Everybody knows my opinion, so I'm just leading it into where you are.
Got it.
Is the fact that you would only be able to throw over. There would only be 1 disengagement allowed per batter. I don't think that's necessary. I also don't. I get it. Everybody hates when there's just throw after throw. It's the worst part of baseball for fans watching in the park, for fans watching at home. Just get on with the baseball. I wouldn't lose my mind if that rule came into play. I just don't think it's necessary.
Unnecessary. Very much unnecessary.
That's where I am.
And they're also having it at 2 gives you a crescendo and builds the drama. Okay, what are they going to do after he's thrown over the second time? To have it on every face-to-face with a base runner on that he can only throw over once doesn't build the moment to me at all.
I guess the question is, have we seen anyone attempt a 3rd pickoff yet? Have we?
No.
We have not
I
had.
have not seen anyone.
I certainly have not seen. I don't watch quite as much. I really don't watch much baseball that isn't the Orioles. So.
I think pitchers, by and large, have done a great job with adjusting to the clock.
I don't disagree with that. Right? I don't disagree with that. So that was the only one to me that was even palatable. To your point, we agree on this. It's not necessary.
It's just not necessary.
But if it came, I would not.
What would the purpose be to shave off another 1 minute off a game?
And I think their argument is get rid of the part of the game that is just there's no benefit to the fan. Right. There's no benefit to the fan for you to be throwing over to. They're so rare that you ever get a pickoff that it's just not a play that's really worthwhile. I did notice. The Nationals. I remember you and I talking about this in the offseason, that were we going to see more catcher attempts at pickoffs?
Pitch outs.
Right, correct. Were we going to see more of that? We didn't. In the 9th inning the other night, the Nationals tried it, and what's-his-face wasn't even at first base. Like, he was 6 feet behind the base, and he's like, He didn't even bother to move. He's just like, really? We're doing this? That's what's going on here?
Well, the main advantage you have in a pitch out isn't picking the guy off of first. It's anticipating he's going to run.
Right. So
and
you're
not getting involved at all with the batter swinging and throwing. And you can call a fastball like 98 miles an hour, gets there fast.
Yep.
It gives you that advantage.
But we haven't seen a ton of it.
No, we haven't seen it at all.
A lot of pitch out attempts.
I have not seen the automatic runners running once the two disengagements have taken place, like immediately running.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. Like just deciding, hey, if you can't throw over, I'm going to take off.
I've got an advantage here.
It's interesting. There's still only so many stolen base artists in baseball at this point, right? So I don't know if that's part of it is that there's just not the confidence.
But the steals are up.
Yeah, the steals are up, and we expected that with both the pickoff rule as well as the larger bases.
Interesting. They're up all over baseball except for Route 66, my fantasy team.
Boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
They're not up
Who's
with
Who's
that
let you down the most? Who is it that you were expecting?
The injury to Jose Siri.
Ah, yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. So that's the first one, right? And we agree that it's unnecessary. I would still live with it.
Totally unnecessary.
The next two, I think, are bat-s insane.
Okay.
The next one is, like, comical to me. It is softball-esque. It is an anytime pinch runner that can be used throughout the course of the game. That you can have someone on your roster, to the point, you could just hire Billy Hamilton.
Right.
Or somebody go to a track team, find a track guy,
right.
and say, you get a place on a baseball team. All you're ever going to do is run.
That's what the Kansas City A's, back when Charlie Finley owned them, and when he moved to Oakland, he got a track guy to come. He knew he could only use him one time.
Right.
But he
in a big
did
spot
that.
late in the game.
Too much of a stunt to me.
Well, I mean, the Royals tried to do it with Terrence Gore and Hamilton for a few years, right? Like on those teams that were good, they in late innings, you knew that guy was coming in and you knew he was running. That was the way that it went.
Right. But there's a consequence.
Right, you lose.
You lose.
This would be you could put that guy in.
Right, you could run for James McCann gets a base hit late in the game. And you don't run for him because you're going to lose him.
Correct.
But now you don't lose him.
You know you can put James McCann right back in the bottom of the inning. I think this is manipulating. This is truly manipulating the concept of the sport.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. I mentioned this yesterday. This is where you
have to leave some of the bones still there. You know, the skeletal structure.
Right.
Now you're starting to take.
Why don't we just start doing 15-man orders? Why don't we start Why not have everybody on your roster playing the game? Like at some point, baseball still kind of has to be baseball at the core. We got in a debate about the shift, and the debate that was being made was the intention of the sport of baseball wasn't for shifting. The intention of the sport of baseball was to have
was the design of the field the way it is.
Right. You have somebody here, somebody here, somebody here, leaving places all over the field that are open for someone to try to hit into.
Right.
So when you change the rule, you were really just getting back to the intention of the sport of baseball, the bones of baseball. Obviously, there are still people that debate about the ghost runner and extra innings. I am a fan of it because, to me, it gives you old baseball back. It gives you station-to-station baseball. I get it. It's fake, if you will. It's forced. But it's baseball.
It does what I said, that the cutting the disengagements from 2 to 1, the ghost runner creates interest. I mean, it's interesting. You know, sometimes you used to settle in, and nobody loved the 19-inning game more than me.
You're a night owl. You're a night owl. Keep in mind, Stan.
Exactly.
Stan is up until except Thursday nights. He's up until all hours of the night most nights.
Right. But the ghost runner to me makes the game more interesting. I'm amazed how many times, and when you bet baseball a little bit, it's like you go, God, that was easy. They went ahead, and then you forget.
You've been betting baseball on your phone here in the state of Maryland?
A little bit.
It's weird that you're allowed to do that. Did you go over to
well, it's legal now.
Did you go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers?
I did.
Did you maybe sign up for PointsBet and get your first make that deposit?
Yes,
and
I did.
When you deposit that $50, did you get those 5 second chance bets?
Yeah.
It's weird. Man, I can't believe you. PressBoxOnline.com/
I needed all 5
Yeah, right.
I needed. I'd like them to change that rule.
You were like a
Give
500
10, no, like 10 second chance.
Pressboxonline.com/offers if you want to sign up for that. No, it creates a sexy part of the game. Like, this is an exciting.
You get right to it's exciting.
You've got to watch.
And I like how
easy
easy it is to score a run, because you score one run in the top of the inning.
Yep.
And you go, well, wait a minute, it's just as easy for the other team to get one run. And I'm amazed how many times there are comebacks from a team
somebody
scoring
scores one in the
one
Yep.
that the other team comes back and gets.
Well,
two.
that happened in Chicago, obviously, last week, right, with the Orioles, where they scored one in the top and then the White Sox scored two in the bottom. That's the way it goes. To your point, or to my original point, I get that was kind of farcical, but it was in extra innings. I'm okay with saying I would never be okay with somebody saying, let's start every inning with a runner on second base.
Right.
No, I understand
Right.
that that's not baseball. This is very specifically, we're going to play a 9-inning baseball game as Mr. Doubleday intended, right? As all of the founders of this sport intended, we're going to play 9 innings of baseball. After that point, we're going to do something slightly different. Slightly, because we just can't have people. Not everybody's like Stan.
Right.
Not everybody can stay up all night watching baseball. And most people, as soon as the 9th inning ended, we're leaving the ballpark. We could be doing this forever. Yeah. I'm not interested in that. So I was okay with that. But I understand this pinch runner thing.
Yeah, it's
it's beyond the pale to me.
Yeah,
it is beyond anything that is natural to the sport of baseball. So I am vehemently opposed to it.
It makes the decision making, by the way, it's not interesting decision making. It's like there's no interest in it because there's no consequence.
Every time somebody gets on base that isn't a super fast runner, you're just going to pull them right off of base and put the other guy in.
Right.
That's all you're ever going to do. It's not interesting to me.
And you're going to slow the game down.
Correct.
The runner's going to come out and need to stretch,
Right. I'm opposed to it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, wholeheartedly.
I understand the intent on the third one, but I am also opposed to it. The third one is the double hook.
You got to explain that to me. I haven't heard of the double hook.
The double hook concept is.
Does it involve hookers?
Not to my knowledge.
No.
It could, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess they could look into a way that it could be involved. I don't know, but not right now.
You get me involved with double hookers.
Then
you're talking.
Wait a second.
But this
now
is the double hook.
Now wait a second. You were just down in Sarasota a couple weeks ago. I know what Till's doing when he goes down to Sarasota.
There's no hookers down in Sarasota.
Number of times old Till would be like, hey, Glenn, going down to get my batteries recharged. All right, buddy, love you. So the idea of the double hook is to basically try to prevent openers. How do we rid ourselves of openers? Baseball, of course, is now in bed, to your point, with sports betting. And as we know, baseball betting is just betting starting pitchers, right? Yeah. So in order to try to prevent teams from using openers, let's go with what's called the double hook. In the Atlantic League, the concept will be 5 innings.
They haven't done it yet.
Have not. Well, they're going to experiment with it, though. It's going to happen. Your starting pitcher doesn't make it 5 innings. You're going to lose your designated hitter when you pull your pitcher.
Don't like it at all.
I hate it.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
The issue that I have with it is
so you're trying to force a team with consequence, negative consequence. You're trying to force them to use a pitcher who's not effective. That's risky
the problem
for the pitcher.
The thing that you think is a problem that I don't think is I don't have an issue with the opener as a baseball fan. I have no problem with the opener. You think it's a problem because of gambling. Also, I do understand that baseball, and I made this point the other day, baseball wants to preserve the art of the starting pitcher because we all know that when you have a good starting pitcher or a good starting pitching matchup, there's more electricity to that game. When Shohei Ohtani pitches in Baltimore, if he pitches in Baltimore, it's going to be, you're going to get 5,000 people that show up that day just because Shohei Ohtani is pitching. When you're in a place where they have a viable ace, when Justin Verlander was pitching over the years, or Scherzer or Kershaw, there is much more electricity within the city on the day that guy is pitching. I understand baseball in general wanting to protect the starting pitcher, the concept of the starting pitcher, because it has behooved them over the years. It has always been more excitement, whether that's for TV ratings, ticket sales, whatever, when you've got a legitimate big-time starting pitcher pitching.
No question about it.
But the opener hasn't ruined starting pitching. The opener has not made it so teams suddenly don't think starting pitchers are valuable.
It's taking away Austin Voth starting every 5th day.
It's getting the bottom end, because there aren't 5 aces on every team. It's getting rid of the bottom end of starting pitching.
Especially when you factor in pitching injuries.
100% in a 162-game season where all sorts of stuff occurs. So I don't think there's a problem with the opener. But if they had a problem with openers, I still think there's a better way to go about it. Because to your point, Stan, the double hook, what it really says is no matter who your pitcher is, we're going to make this game worse. Either you're going to have to keep getting your brains beat in by leaving the pitcher out there, or we're going to drastically lessen your chances of getting back into the game by taking one actual hitter out of your lineup. That, in what way does that help the product of baseball in any capacity?
But you're forgetting if it's coupled with the designated runner, the runner. The runner.
I thought you were going with the designated
hooker. You add more
hooker.
offense into the game. No, it's a terrible idea. The double hook is a terrible
It's
notion.
amazing to me how many smart baseball people sell you on the double hook. Sell you on the idea of it for whatever romantic feelings they have about, well, we don't want to see starting pitchers only go 3 innings. We're trying to if there was a way to say, and I brought this up the other day, if the baseball could make a rule that we are now telling you have to identify your 5 starting pitchers at all times.
Right.
That you have to announce every week, these are the 5 starting pitchers that we have. And in order
kind of
for
like a football way, you got to be public with your roster.
Something along these lines, right? You have to at all times designate these are our 5 starting pitchers. And if you want to change that, you either legitimately have to send someone down for a certain number of days, or to the injured list for a certain number of days, or to the bullpen for a certain number of days, right? Like what?
But then you'd get into the whole thing about play service time and all that. It gets too complicated.
And it becomes probably too wonky to do it. And that's why I would essentially just say you're going to have to accept that there are going to be openers.
Yeah.
Like it's okay.
You know who'd be a great guest? It hasn't publicly come out that he's behind all these. Theo Epstein would be a fascinating guest to get.
Theo Epstein. I feel like we had a number for him at one point.
Yeah,
I might be.
Well, I'm sure if you called MLB,
it's right to go that route.
He would come on. Now, whether they want him getting much credit, I think because up to this point, I think the rule changes have been very smart and well thought out by people like Theo, Joe Torre. I'm sure they're
have not drastically changed the sport
the heart of the game.
Correct, right.
Yeah.
And look, obviously the extra inning thing is drastic, but it's
drastic.
It's unique to the extra innings.
Yes.
It's not drastically changing the 9 innings of baseball that a game is supposed to be every night. That's just changing the way a baseball game ends after that.
My one change to that would be I'd probably let you go 10 innings.
I think you and I talked about that before. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I'm not opposed to it.
I'm not terribly opposed to the way they do it now.
Correct. And
that was a rule. What's interesting about debating about these, that rule, when I first read it
you were vehemently
8 years
opposed
ago,
to it.
I said, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I had to admit, 2 years ago, all of a sudden I go, this is really more interesting. It's more entertaining.
It's so funny you bring it up because I actually was you. Now, I was much quicker than everybody else, right? It took me seeing it one time in that pandemic season, and we all remember the air high fives. Right. The first time I saw it, I said, oh, my God, this is baseball. This is the thing that I loved growing up. This is not dudes walking up and just swinging for home runs or swinging out of their shoes for 7 innings, and this is what I liked to watch when I was a kid, and you were trying to go station to station and move a runner over, and I loved this. So I was very quick, but it's hard for people to remember, when it was announced, I was the exact same way. When it was announced, it was, this is cockamamie.
Yeah.
I mean, this is nonsense. What are we doing? We're just doing silly things. Only until I saw it, and then I said, oh, my God, this is everything. This is incredible. This is everything I could ever ask for.
They're still not using that though in the postseason, right?
No, not in the postseason. The postseason, they're saying
It's pure.
Yep, we're going
Pure
to play baseball until you determine a winner the natural way.
So
I think that's a good.
So then, realistically, how likely do you think that we end up seeing these rules? I mean, every time they announce these rules, we are
What were the
up
ones,
in arms.
So the Atlantic League, they experimented with the robot umps.
They did the robot umps.
And they have not obviously adopted it yet in baseball, but we're
Yeah.
all still pretty convinced that it eventually will come.
Yes.
gonna
There
come
might be like
major-
more technical stuff that might have to go behind it.
Right.
Might be my guess.
But I'm
yeah,
trying
I
to
mean-
I'm trying to remember the other rules they adopted in past years. Hang on a second. Here in 2021, 2 new rules were thrown into the DH. Well, they apparently already tried it once in 2021.
What the double hook?
The double hook, yes. Yeah. They apparently already attempted that in 2021. So I don't know if they did it in a different way in 2021. Typically been divided. The double hook rule would be a compromise. Utilize the DH spot. Come on, get to the point. I hate. God, it's like when you ever try to look up a recipe on the internet.
Sit on the site longer.
And it's just you got to read like when I was a child growing up on the prairie, my father would make this for us. Like God, I just want to know how to make this quiche. Please, just tell me how to make the effing quiche. This was. I can't even remember what was different about it. I really can't remember what was different about the double hook in 2021 till 2023.
It's a bad idea.
I'm just opposed to it in the whole. Oh, they moved the rubber in 2021 as well. They moved it.
That's a bad idea too.
They moved it to 61 feet, and so they just moved. They moved it a foot.
Jeez.
I guess is
A
what
foot
they did.
back.
A foot back
Yeah.
in the Atlantic League in 2021. Yeah. So I guess the point is that like they don't all
just penalize people that have freaky talents. You would have never had Nolan Ryan be what Nolan Ryan was.
That's a good point, right?
You know, if you move it back.
That's a very good point. Yeah. I guess to Griffin, to your
I
point.
still have a few.
Yeah, you got to cover every now and then. That's why we bring you in here on Fridays. We hope that during the week you build up some really good points to come in and deliver to us.
That's what I try to do.
Griffin, to your point, I think that it is not a certainty that these things will come to Major League Baseball. I think that's what we're seeing as we look back on some of the other rules they've experimented with, that they have not always immediately translated to those rules coming to Major League Baseball. But it at least shows that it's a consideration. Clearly, the double hook thing is something they are. The fact
they
that
really
that they're trying it again.
I guess it's got to be to your point. You know, they want starters to stay in the game. They want to have a starter start the game and stay in the game.
Yeah, but it's just awful. It's just awful.
Why
it's
not?
awful.
Why not do like an average innings thing? You get another draft pick. You know, if you have through the course of the year
to try to encourage more.
Encourage,
more
look,
pool money.
You know, it's really. I can't believe I'm saying this. Drew was trying to figure that out yesterday. He's like, "How do we do it so it's not a penalty,
right?
But instead a reward for your starting pitcher's innings pitched? How do we try to
try and up the average innings pitched?
Right. Maybe that's your answer, is that you get a competitive balance pick. The top 5 teams in starting innings pitched that season get a competitive balance pick.
The team gets $1 million bonus.
Okay, now the flip side argument of that would be the people that are furious about Bruce Bochy because they say that he threw Madison Bumgarner's arm off.
Right.
Like, do teams stop protecting their arms? And
who says that? Because to me, Madison Bumgarner ruined his own career with the motorcycle accident. He was never the same pitcher since the motorcycle.
I saw there was a tweet that was going around that was getting a lot of traction yesterday. That was a picture of Bumgarner, Lincecum, and Kane all together, and there was a tweet that was getting traction about, you know, everybody wants to praise Bruce Bochy, but think about how much longer these guys' careers could have been if he wasn't, you know, making them throw their arms off.
Right.
And my reaction immediately was, I don't know what the job of the manager is. Bruce Bochy won 3 World Series.
Yeah.
So you want me to criticize him?
Right. He did a pretty good job.
He did what he was supposed to do. I don't.
Madison Bumgarner is going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean,
is he definitely going to be a Hall of Famer?
I don't know if he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
He won 3 World Series, and
Buster Posey won 3 World Series. I would argue, like Buster Posey's a Hall of Famer.
I don't know if Bumgarner's totality of his career and just the freakishness of his World Series. Look, Curt Schilling had a better career than Madison Bumgarner, and he won 2 World Series. Schilling,
I would probably argue that's true. Was he on
one
another one in
with
Boston?
Arizona?
But was he on
one with Boston?
He was only on the one in
with
Boston.
The
he wasn't on the
bloody
second.
sock. No.
Okay, all right.
One.
I am. That's an interesting. It's a really interesting argument about Madison Bumgarner. I'm not.
How many wins does he have? Like 152.
Yeah, it sounds about right. I'll let Griffin pull that up. I'm trying to pull. There's a Hall of Fame like predictor that Baseball Reference has, and I'm just trying to find out.
Oh, like they do a score or something.
Yeah, they. Well, this is not a good argument.
134 wins.
They have Madison Bumgarner with a Hall of Fame score of 59, which would put him.
Sounds right. Sounds high. 2
points behind Armando Benitez.
Jeez.
134 wins is not a Hall of Fame.
Not a great sign.
I guess it has to do with when I was growing up, Madison Bumgarner was
he
the
was
playoff
nails.
pitcher.
There's no question
Yeah.
that he was
And
nails.
He dominated for 6 years.
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I think it was a damn good big game pitcher. Is exact. Maybe you compare him to Andy Pettitte in that way, right? But I think Andy Pettitte's closer to the Hall of Fame
Much
than
closer.
Madison
Pettitte
Bumgarner is.
won 220
Right.
games or something like that.
All right. Just because we're bringing it up before we take another break, and we're going to get to Mike Baumann here in a minute. You asked that question of Rob Friedman. Is there any world in which you'd be okay with the Orioles being the team to, say, take a flyer on Madison Bumgarner?
I don't see the need for it here.
I certainly don't see a need for it.
I see his best two chances would be with the Dodgers, believe it or not, or the Mets because of the flurry. Neither one's going to claim him on waivers.
And I guess that would be my question would be if you could do what you did with Matt Harvey.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe there's enough of a demand for Madison Bumgarner that he doesn't have to do that.
Right.
If it gets to a point where there isn't that much interest, and you could say to him, "Dude, you're coming here to pitch in AAA,
right?
And we'll see what happens."
If that was the way they could bring him along to work in the organization, I doubt he would be.
I don't think so
much
either.
Interest. And remember, when they took the flyer on Matt Harvey, they didn't have Kyle Bradish, Kyle Gibson,
right.
Dean Kramer, Grayson Rodriguez.
I mean, I guess the second, when they did it again,
right.
knowing the suspension was going to be there,
right.
and knowing that he wasn't,
right.
they were going to have a major league roster, and then they would have Matt Harvey in the mix. I guess
right.
that would be the way that I'd be thinking about
right.
this, almost
as an insurance policy
in a lottery ticket,
yeah.
right? Like
yep.
if he's willing to do it, and again, to your point. Why would you be willing to do that if you're Madison Bumgarner? I don't know. Some guys just really love doing this and,
right.
Would be willing to do anything in order to try to get one more shot.
Yeah.
At this point.
I mean, I'll tell you, another team that could possibly take a flyer on him is Tampa Bay Rays.
Sure.
With Glasnow,
and
Springs, and there's another pitcher. Eflin's on the
IL right.
Too.
Yeah. What if the Orioles use him as a bullpen arm? Is that?
I mean, I don't know. The point about the velocity
doesn't offer me anything more than Danny Colomb and Keegan Aiken.
I don't disagree. I certainly right now wouldn't want him in a leverage spot.
Yeah.
I couldn't see that at all.
Austin Voth's spot. Have a right-handed Voth and a left-handed Voth.
I don't know if we need that many. I don't know if we need that many Voths. I don't know if that's necessary, Stan. I think I'm opposed. In fact, is what I would say.
I'm not a big fan of signing Bumgarner.
Yeah.
For the Orioles.
I tend to agree with you.
God bless him. If some team wants to give him a chance,
And look, and if they do, and it's for, again, a lottery if it's for nothing, I'm not going to be furious about it as long as he's not given a major league roster spot. As long as he's going to go down and pitch in Norfolk, and we're going to see if there's something there.
I heard Mike Farron yesterday, by the way, talking about, because he's very, he's plugged into the Arizona thing.
Although I didn't realize he left the Diamondbacks to do. He's doing college baseball now for ESPN. I didn't know that.
Who?
Farron.
Farron?
Yeah, he's not doing Diamondbacks broadcasts anymore.
Okay, but he still knows.
Yeah, he's still out there.
Where
right?
the bodies are.
Yeah.
He said that Brent Strom had ties with Elias.
Okay.
And apparently Brent Strom and Bumgarner were really. There was a lot of friction.
Oh, well then, yes, it would seem very unlikely at that point. Expert and award-winning A.J. Michaels Heating, AC Plumbing, and Home Performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is coming up fast. New rebates and discounts are available. More at ajmichaels.com. Mike Baumann is having a heck of a start to the season. He's going to join us next. Stan the Fan Charles is here. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Baseball season is finally here, and what better way to celebrate than with some fresh gear from Birdland Sports? As a small business run by O's fans, Birdland Sports offers a great selection of unofficial merchandise, including unique designs like Birds Are Coming tees, player cartoon shirts, and championship prediction designs. And the best part, their prices are more affordable than the big guys. Get high-quality gear without breaking the bank. So whether you're heading to the ballpark or watching from home, show your love for the birds with Birdland Sports. Visit birdlandsports.com today to browse their collection and gear up for the season. Let's go O's!
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Another Orioles season is in the books, and the bat-around was there every step of the way as the Birds posted their first winning season in 6 years. And after promoting 2 #1 overall prospects in Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, Mike Elias has said it's liftoff from here. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, and along with my co-host Zach Goodman, we'll be here every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon all off-season, discussing every signing, trade, and waiver claim as we navigate the cold winter months that lead to spring training. You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or listen live at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. And if you miss a show, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. So tune into the Bat-Around with Paul Valley and Zach Goodman every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
If you need more of Glenn, you can also hear him every Sunday with Rita on 105.7 The Fan. But also, if you need more of Glenn, what's wrong with you?
Hey, we are giving away an opportunity for you if, let's just say, maybe they do sign Madison Bumgarner and he reports to a minor league affiliate. You could go see him this summer, courtesy of us right here at Press Box.
Where would that be, at Delmarva?
I don't know if it would be at Delmarva, Stan.
Aberdeen.
I think that it probably wouldn't be there either. I just would guess.
Maybe he'll end up with an Atlantic League team.
No, I don't. They don't have an affiliation, so that would not work. Unfortunately,
well, yeah,
that wouldn't be the case.
He wants to play baseball. So.
Hey, have you seen? If I know a lot of you maybe have gone out, like perhaps you went to the gas night at the Bay Sox or something like that.
I was there gas night at the Bay Sox last year.
That's every night you're there, Stan, because you're just.
What are you saying? He's gassy?
Yeah.
Oh boy, jeez!
No,
remember you were just praising Griffin earlier
to the gas can.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I know. It was a great night. It was an excellent. It was a magical night. I bring that up because perhaps you've not been to all of the area minor league parks, and PressBox wants to give you the opportunity to do just that this summer, to see the likes of Jackson Holiday and Kobe Mayo and Heston Kjerstad.
He may be out of the state pretty
soon. It might not be much longer for Heston Kjerstad. Hell, it might not be that much longer before he's in Baltimore at this point, given how he's performing. You can head over to PressBoxOnline.com/contests right now and sign up to win 4 tickets to each of the local minor league baseball teams.
Wow.
All of them. Plus an Easy Pass Maryland on-the-go transponder preloaded with $25 and a $50 gas card from Royal Farms to help you get around to all of the various minor league parks. So we're taking care of all of that.
That sounds like something Colson came up with.
It does seem like a really smart idea.
It's a smart idea.
Unlike that printer situation that he helped us not at all with. But he did come up with a really good idea. You got to be 18 or older to enter. The sweepstakes ends on June 14th, so go right now to PressBoxOnline.com/contests in order to sign up. Stan the Fan Charles, this guy that's joining us right now, is off to an unbelievable start to his season. He has been dynamic. He is Orioles pitcher Mike Baumann, and he is with us now here on GCR. Mike, it's Glenn and Stan. It's so great to catch up with you, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Yeah, always happy to be talking with you. It's been a while.
It's been too long, man. I'm really glad that we're able to do this again. I'm particularly glad that we're able to do it right now because, bro, what got into you this season? Like, what was What was the off season like? Did you settling into a new role, did you feel something coming into this season?
Yeah, just kind of getting in a nice routine and getting into the swing of things. I had a nice off season, and we have a great bullpen, and we just kind of feed off each other, and winning can be contagious.
Michael, I've been a fan of yours for 5 years or so, since your name started being prominent in the Oriole farm system. I'm wondering at what point this off season or in spring training did they come to you and say, "Hey, we really want to convert you. We think your value to us is in being a relief pitcher"? Was it in spring training, or had they told you that during the off season?
It officially happened in spring training. I had a rough outing against the Blue Jays, and after that, they called me in and said, "Hey, we think this could be the best move for you and the best move for the team." And I said, "Hey, whatever I can do to help, I'm here for it."
So you honestly embraced the opportunity rather than viewed it as a negative.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, whatever I can do to help, and I'm just happy to be here. So it's such a fun team to be a part of, and showing up to the field every day has been great.
What you just said there to me is such a big part of that story, right? Like, how much, I don't know, 2 years ago, would you maybe have felt a different way about it at that point than looking around? And obviously, having a guy that you've been friends with forever in Austin there, but like, what's happening right now feels really special. How much does that genuinely change your approach when something like this happens?
I'm not too sure about a couple of years ago, but it's just, when this team is as good as it is, and it's such a exciting team to watch. I get to watch from the bullpen every day, and there's just so much energy, and you can feel the buzz in the stadium at Camden every night, and even on the road, we have fans that travel so well. So
dude, you
can feel the excitement in the air.
When you were in the ninth inning on Wednesday, and everybody had moved down, and it was just Orioles fans left at the ballpark. I know unfortunately in Baltimore, there's been a lot of the other way around over the years, or there's been a lot of Yankees and Red Sox fans. How freaking cool is that moment pitching when it was nothing but Orioles fans at that point in the stadium?
Oh, it was so cool. It's like a home game. You could just feel the buzz in the air, and it's just such a cool feeling. It's hard to describe, but being able to finish the game and just hear the cheers out in the away stadium was so cool and so different.
Mike, you've been a unique player in sort of your Oriole career. You were signed during the Dan Duquette regime, and now Mike Elias comes in, and there's a whole different approach to teaching pitching. It's much more analytically driven. Talk to me a little bit about what you think Chris Holt has done to help you, and also Darren Holmes, who was a pretty darn good relief pitcher at one time.
Well, yeah, they've really helped just kind of emphasize my strengths and just kind of show me where I can get better. And over the years, there's been some struggles, but definitely been able to lean on them, and they've helped me through everything. And I've become a better pitcher because of it. It's never going to be a straight line, and there's always going to be some rocky roads. So I've been able to help. I've been able to lean on them, and they've been nothing but great mentors for me.
He is Mike Baumann. He's with us here on GCR. Mike, we hear so many times from guys about like the mentality change when you move into a bullpen role. Like, can you take me through? How do you become a psychopath during those innings? How do you get to that place where you don't know when it's going to be? What do you do to pass the time? Like, what is it like? And is it as crazy as some guys pointed out to be as you make that adjustment mentality-wise for coming in out of the bullpen?
Yeah, I think everyone's different when it comes to that mentality. But, for the first few innings of a game, the bullpen tries to keep it light. And then as soon as that phone starts ringing, everyone locks in. And that's kind of when, that's kind of when the lights turn off, and the lights turn on. It's just, focus, tunnel vision, and that's when the adrenaline starts to hit.
I'm imagining you like a pro wrestler, like, you're like putting on like your makeup or something like that in the bullpen. Like, I'm ready to go, like going from just being sort of casually there to sort of like hulking up, if you will, as you come in. Is there anything like that?
I don't know about that, but it just kind of clicks, and next thing you know, you're sitting in the locker room and you just kind of black out for a little bit.
Mike, the relief pitcher mindset. It's so vastly different. Could you talk a little bit about the difference between knowing when you have, say, a bad start or a so-so start, sort of worrying about the next start versus just coming to the ballpark with kind of like a clean slate every day, but having to be on edge that you might pitch that night?
Yeah, absolutely. As a starter, you kind of, as a competitor, you never want to have a rough start, and that kind of hangs over your head for the next week essentially, and then kind of as a reliever, it's just like clean, like you said, clean slate every day. It's a new game. Anything can happen, and your name could be called at any moment.
Now, the flip side of that is a relief pitcher like you are currently. Suddenly, you really develop confidence that you can get major league hitters out. Do you think that I'm not saying it's going to happen with the Orioles, but do you think now that you've gotten this run of confidence that you could go back to being a starter? Would you like to go back to that, or are you really happy with the level that you're at now?
I'm really happy with where I'm at now. It's, I'm enjoying this role, and I'm just happy to be a part of this bullpen. There's a bunch of strong arms, and it's really great. A bunch of great guys.
It's fun to dominate. Like, it's awfully fun to be succeeding at the major league level. That's a cool thing. Do you guys have any? Are there any bullpen games that you guys have been playing?
There's some would you rather games that Danny's brought in, and that's pretty much the main one right now.
All right, hang on. So we play Would You Rather Wednesday here. I don't know if you've been on. I feel like maybe you've been on a Wednesday before, and I might have done this with you. So we do Would You Rather Wednesday. This week we did. Did you see the video of the screaming baby on the plane that led to the screaming older gentleman on the plane? Are you familiar with this viral video this week?
No, I didn't see that.
Dude. So the guy who actually was very funny, but was legitimately screaming about it. Apparently, the baby was screaming for 45 minutes. And then this led to an older gentleman who was also screaming at the top of his lungs. It created an entire scene. So the would you rather was, would you rather be on that plane or just have been stuck in a 3-hour delay at the airport for a next plane?
I think I'd rather be on that plane.
Okay.
Hoping that my headphones drown out the noise and I can get to my destination quicker.
But once you see the commotion, I feel like you're not going to be able to distract yourself from it. Like, I feel like to the point, like, you're going to try to block out the screaming baby, but once now people are standing up and, like, there's the flight attendants are coming back, I don't know that you can still continue to be distracted.
Yeah, that's true, too. I mean, you could just be in an airport, have not a worry in the world.
That's what I'm saying.
If you're not in a rush to go anywhere.
You got Netflix there. You're good, right?
I'm just happy at that moment in time they don't allow guns on airplanes. I mean, really, I'm very happy about that.
That's the case.
Would you rather be sitting next to the man or the baby if you're on the flight?
Oh, it's got to be the baby, right? Because, like, what do you say to the man? Like, I think it has to be the baby in that situation. I think you're right.
I think you punch the old man if you're like Michael Baumann.
But now you're not going to be allowed to fly.
He did it for the greater good of the plane.
That's what you tell the judge.
No question.
You say, dude, you got to let me fly. I was trying to help out in those circumstances. Mike, the fun that you guys are having, and we see it. Is there a way for like the pitching staff to co-op the homer hose? Is there a way for you guys to have your own thing that you do? Like, if you end an inning with a huge strikeout, can you create your own thing, or just take it and say, do we get to drink from the homer hose when we do something big?
I don't know. That's been in talks in the bullpen. I don't know how we'd incorporate it down in the dugout, but we've talked about trying to find, like those hoses that they water the field with?
Yes.
kind of bring one into the bullpen whenever we hit a home run, just have like a waterworks celebration down in the bullpen.
That's a very cool idea. I love that.
Yeah. That is dope as hell. I don't know how they haven't already figured out a way to make that work yet. That would
I don't know. We'd have to pull some strings. But
if they could do something like with the lights too, like what they do when Bautista comes in, and they could create like a water display. Oh, that would be awesome if they could pull that off.
Michael,
I don't know if fans celebrate more for the home runs or for the celebration.
It's pretty close.
Yeah, it is pretty close. Michael, are you guys out there in the bullpen? Do you have a screen, a TV there that you're like when Bautista comes in a game? Are you aware how? I guess a lot of times you're already back in the clubhouse because you've been used prior. But how insane it is watching him pitch right now.
It's like playing a video game. It's like whatever he throws, no one's gonna touch it. We don't have like a live TV or anything, but whenever those lights start blinking, you hear the whistling from the wire.
Yep.
It's just it just gives you goosebumps. You're like, all right, this game's over.
Dude, the splitter is insane. Yeah. Like it's just insane that pitch.
Mike,
it's unhittable. I think someone hit like a ground ball off it the other day. You're like, oh my God, he actually made
contact. Right.
And Michael, do you know who the pitching ninja is? Do you follow him at all? We had him on the show earlier in today.
Oh, did you? Yeah, no, I'm familiar with him.
Yeah.
So you're barely you're not really on Twitter anymore. You kind of dumped Twitter at this point, right?
Well, I got hacked back in December. I haven't figured out how to get back on yet.
Oh, dude, you're not missing anything. Just stay away. You're good. Just stay the hell away. There is nothing good happening there. Plus, you don't get to actually be Mike Baumann anymore. They take that away. You're no longer allowed
and
to
your Social Security number.
Right. And stay the hell away. So you got hacked and you just sort of gave up? You were like, not worth it?
Yeah, I don't know how to get past this. You sign up for like double authentication thing, and I can't get into my own account.
Wait, so texting someone else? Like somebody else is getting a text? Like, hey, Mike Baumann, you got to tell us this is you. That is rough, man.
If you ever see any outlandish tweets, it's not for me.
Oh, okay. Now all right. Where they did you? Oh boy, I didn't realize that was part of it. I totally missed that, man. I'm sorry. That sucks.
Yeah. Hopefully that's not the case. But we'll see.
God, man. I hope that's not the case. Mike, just in general, where this team is at, the mentality. To go back to what you said about the fun of it. Can you describe the genuine feeling that you guys have about what it is that you're capable of accomplishing, given the group of guys that you have together, and also there's still more to come. There is still more help that's going to be on the way in the coming years.
Yeah, a lot of talent, but I think you saw it last year. I think the guys in the clubhouse knew what they were capable of doing, and then they started to show that. And then this year, it's like, all right, now we know we can compete with the best of them. We can win any given night, and that just gets contagious and carries over from day in and day out. And like I said, it gets contagious, and that belief continues to grow. And we know that we can do something special and really make some noise in the league.
I see you got engaged.
I did.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome. Now wait a second.
You.
How does this work? Do you have you set a date? Are you like, hey, let me go win a World Series and then we'll figure that out? Like, where are you at with that?
The date's December 2nd. You guys are more than welcome to come.
Oh, definitely. We're going to be there. We'll send candlesticks. They make a great gift. I don't know if you've heard. It's a Bull Durham reference. I have no idea if that even registers with you at all.
No, I got that. No, yeah. So December 2nd, looking forward to it. She's a lovely lady. And yeah, so
awesome,
I'm excited.
That's awesome.
Michael, I guess you've gotten to know Grayson Rodriguez pretty well the last couple of years. Any doubts in your mind that he can really make it as a big-time starting pitcher?
No, not a doubt. The stuff's there, the mentality's there, and I mean, he's fun to watch. He's put up plenty of zeros already in his young career, and he's a guy that steps on the mound. You're like, all right, it's Grayson's day, and he's going to give us a chance to win.
Before I let you go, I want to go back to a second of just because I remember when my wife and I got married, it was very awkward sending out the invites, right? Because you can only have so many people at a wedding. What are the politics within the clubhouse about inviting guys to the wedding? Like, do you have to invite everyone on the team to the wedding? Like, guys that get caught? Like, how does that work? What are the politics when it comes to sending out the invites right now?
I haven't really thought about that, but
Dude.
I think everyone's grown men and kind of understands.
You
the
say that,
situation.
I know you're about to find out otherwise, bro. I know that's about to be the case. Someone that you have no idea cares so much is going to be like, wow, really? I didn't make the cut? Huh. I'm like, oh, that's weird. I thought we were cool.
I did have a college buddy who that was really hard for him. He's like, if I invite this guy, then I have to invite this other guy because he's kind of in that same tier.
Dude, you are going to have nights where she's going to be talking to you about it, and you'll be like, I just want to worry about pitching.
Just elope.
Yeah,
just elope.
Right. Run off. Don't do the wedding. Plus, you know how much more awkward it's going to be when somebody does it? When I've got to go back to, like, Adam Frazier and say, by the way, I got an invite, and you didn't. Like, just then I got to put that out there. It's going to make it so much more uncomfortable at that point. I won't do that to you.
No, Frazier. Yeah, no, you'd understand.
Don't get married, Mike. Take it from somebody that's been married close to 25 years. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike.
No. I'm just kidding.
Can't be saying that yet.
Just kidding.
Dude, I can't even get over how happy I am for you, man. You're a great dude. You've always been a great dude. And to see you kick ass the way that you've been kicking ass has been so cool for us. Of course, at @big_Mike Baumann. On Instagram is how you can give him a follow. Always appreciate you, man. Continue your dominance and really appreciate you hopping back on with us this morning.
I appreciate it as well. It's always a pleasure coming on here and talking to you guys.
Thanks,
dude. Michael.
Mike Baumann with us here on GCR. Great guy. And
really pitching well.
I mean, it's a revelation, man. Yeah. It really, like between he and Cano, it's unreal what it is they found in those guys to start the season.
Are you crying right now?
No, I'm not crying.
It's
I feel
allergies?
It's that type of year where it comes. Plus, it's hot in here, and I didn't take my jacket off like an idiot.
Right.
And I don't like doing it in the middle of because if somebody's watching on the video, I don't want to be distracting, like what's going on, you know.
Couldn't we turn his camera off for like 30 seconds and then?
Is that an option? Is that an option?
Actually, I can just bring you down, and it's just gonna be me and Stan.
Yeah,
you guys can just talk for a second.
The two handsome guys.
Although at this point we're talking about it, I might as well just take it off. We're having I'm past the point of it being distracting.
Okay. No, I thought you got emotional.
No. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy for Mike Baumann.
Yeah,
I'm very
I
happy
am
for
too.
Mike Baumann,
Yeah.
and he's a dude that's come on with us a million times over the years and has always been a really good dude. So I'm thrilled for him. But no, it's the pollen and the.
I wanted to ask him, but I just chose not to let the interview end. I'm sure he's pretty tight with Zach Lowther, whose career went the opposite way.
Yeah.
And dude put in like 6 or 8 years trying to get to the big leagues and really make it, and it just doesn't appear it's going to happen.
That's unfortunate. Yes, you're right. It does appear to be
and
the
probably
case.
just as good a dude.
I've always enjoyed chatting with Zach. He is a good dude too. But no, it's awesome. It's awesome to see someone who's been through some struggles, come around, find a role,
out the other side,
correct, and make it work. And it's funny because I don't think he's BSing you with that answer. I think, like, look, if he really wants to be a starting pitcher,
it's such a relief to have that confidence now. I belong. That a lot of people just say, "Hey,
why would I mess with that?
Why would I mess with this?" You know,
that's the sense
and
that I got.
Again, I know I'm beating a dead horse with this right now. I still think he'll end up a relief pitcher. That's why I think DL Hall, they're just missing using up those bullets that he has.
You think? I've never heard you mention that about DL Hall. It's really, really random that you would bring that up.
First time.
No, I think what you said is exactly the way it came out for him. Like, dude, why would I be thinking about anything other than just succeeding, the thing that it's working for me? Why would I consider anything else other than just doing this thing that's been awesome for me? And that's what I felt when you asked that question. Was a very like you almost heard like a little bit of a chuckle in there. Like, no, dude.
Yeah,
I'm
real happy right now.
Not even thinking about it. Like, I am just going to do this. All right, when we come back in, we'll talk a little bit about the draft because Stan and I will not be doing another show before the draft. So we'll talk a little bit about what the Ravens might do. We'll get a tidbit and tubular to wind things down. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Harford Community College in Bel Air, Maryland, along with the National Junior College Athletic Association's Region 20, will host the 2023 NJCAA Men's Lacrosse National Championship May 13th and 14th at Harford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air. Semifinals are on Saturday, May 13th. The national championship is Sunday, May 14th. Catch the action for $10 each day. Tickets will be available in advance or at the gate on game day. Qualifying teams will be announced.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the pipeline of talent still to come for the Orioles, diving in on last year's #1 pick Jackson Holliday and other top prospects like Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and more. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles Orioles pitcher Kyle Gibson, and Bo Smolka breaks down what progress would mean for the team's 2022 draft picks in their second pro season. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Check out PressBoxOnline.com every day to find daily winners and betting advice from Jeremy Kahn. And if you want some advice about life decisions that you probably shouldn't make, here's Glenn Clark.
Yeah, kind of a look, and the fallout of Calvin Ridley a year ago, a big story in the NFL today. 3 players have been suspended indefinitely. 2 others have been suspended for 6 games related to gambling policy violations.
You know, I feel terrible about this because I know these players, and I told them about the press box /offers
damn it,
thing.
Stan, you should have never mentioned
I
to them.
thought it was legal now.
Well, it's legal for everybody else.
Yeah,
as long
not for players.
Let me make this abundantly clear. As long as you are not a current NFL player,
you can gamble.
You can go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers right now and get up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus match plus a $50 free bet from DraftKings at PressBoxOnline.com/offers. But if you are an active NFL player,
you can't do that.
Yeah, if you are,
or you're in jeopardy of being suspended.
If Lamar Jackson, you're such a fan of the Lamar-O-Meter that you've been tuned in for the entirety of the show. If for whatever reason, you know, Aaron Rodgers, you just love Mike Baumann, and so you're glued listening to Mike Baumann this morning, you can't. I'm sorry, you can't do that. Not an option.
I feel
for
terrible. You know,
I don't blame you.
And it probably is going to ruin my relationship with Dan Campbell.
Oh, it's over. And it seems like such a good guy too. It's a real mistake. So the 3 players suspended for the year. Quintez Cephas is a real player, right? Like he's been a helpful piece for them. C.J. Moore, not as significant, and then Shaka Toney of the Washington Commanders, who's a player but not significant. They're all suspended indefinitely, so at least through the end of this season, much like the Calvin Ridley suspension from a year ago. Then Stanley Berryhill, who I have to be totally honest with you guys, I don't even know who that is, so I can't tell you anything.
It's one of my aliases.
Oh, you use that on the road so that you keep the crowds from knowing that Stan Charles is there, because if they knew, you would be overwhelmed.
I used to use a BlackBerry.
Yeah,
Barry Hill.
Barry Hill. It does make all the sense in the world. Jameson Williams is obviously the headlining name from this list. Of course,
this is significant for a team that was really on
the
right,
cusp.
on
Yes.
the cusp
Yep,
of really
very much
doing
on
some
the
great
cusp.
things.
Now he's only suspended for 6 games, so that's the good news for them is that they will get him back, before the midway point of the season. But like the NFL is very clearly they're taking this thing seriously, and for everybody that says, well, really, Calvin Ridley wasn't even playing, like they are making it abundantly clear. There is no gray area here. There is no, well, you can bet on other things. They're telling you can do whatever you want in the world. Whatever you want to do, you can do it, except this one thing.
While you're an active player.
Correct. You can't
when you
do
retire,
this.
they got no problem with it.
And I know that there will be opinions that'll be like, well, what does this have to do? This isn't going to impact. They're not throwing games. They're not even betting on their own game. Whatever comes out.
Right.
And I don't know what we're going to learn about what these guys were specifically doing. But the NFL has made it abundantly clear. You can't bet on football. You can't do it. I believe they'll even let you bet on golf. I even believe they let you bet on others. I got to double check that, but I think we found that out last year in the aftermath of the Calvin Ridley thing is that they'll let you bet on other sports.
Right.
You cannot bet on football. You cannot be involved in anything that would compromise them. And you can say, well, isn't that hypocritical when they're advertising gambling? It's the conversation for a different day. If you can't understand as a football player that you can't bet on football, that's on you, man. Like, that's on you. I can't help you there. So, look, it's, obviously it's bad news, and 4 of these players are Lions players, so there's something clearly going on within the Lions locker room.
And the headline story has just a note, and it says, while Quintez Cephas, C.J. Moore, and a Commanders DE
Shakatoni,
are suspended indefinitely.
Yeah, they're the ones that are suspended for at least the totality of the 2023
Wow.
season. So that's the
You
that's
think
the
that'll
story.
affect the price of the Commanders?
The sale? No, I don't think those two things will have much of anything to do with each other. My God, there's this mystery third guy that's been bidding on the Commanders that nobody knows anything about. There was a Duke basketball player. You might know the guy. Brian Davis played basketball at Duke years ago. He's a PG County kid.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Well,
He
it didn't ring
is
all of a sudden, someone that no one's really ever heard of other than these, sort of is throwing out a $7 million bid for the Washington Commanders, which makes everybody think that he's fronting money for, like, the Saudis or something like that. He did an interview with my guys, the Junkies, down in D.C. the other day, and I kept hearing about it. People were tweeting about how bizarre it was. There was oh my God, this quote about. Hang on a second. This is a legit. You have to hear this quote about where his money comes from. It was. Wait a second. My money comes from white people. Was the quote? My money comes from my money comes from white people who are Jewish, Italian, and Sicilian. Now, Brian Davis, for what it's worth, not white. He's African American. What a bizarre quote this was in the course of a meandering interview where they kept trying to figure out. Please explain how are you wealthy? And he just couldn't get a straight answer from this guy whatsoever. And so most people think he's not legitimate, but
a quote like that.
I don't know why you make that
takes
thing.
away
Right,
all the questions of his credibility.
Why would that be the case? Really quickly, Stan, next Thursday night, NFL draft gets underway. As you mentioned, you talked to KZ last night. Where are you at with what you would like to see the Ravens do and what you expect to see the Ravens do?
Well, it's interesting because I talked to you off air just a couple minutes ago, and KZ and you have sort of the same opinion that they will most likely move out of that number 22 pick. I still think that, to me, with how tight money is going to be, I have a feeling they're going to trade somebody significant to get the draft pick capital.
Patrick Queen is the obvious choice, right? And I certainly could see that. I would tell you I'm not going to be surprised if they do both things. The Ravens, five picks is what they took in the 4th round last year, right? They want to have
more ammunition going
as many picks as possible.
I just think that the cornerback position, KZ identified 2 or 3 names that were really prominent, and I think that that's clearly their biggest need right now. I guess if the right wide receiver were there or some freakish drop where somebody they've gotten their top 5 is available, all bets are off.
I still think we have to have more of an edge rusher conversation than we're having. I I think what we're saying is how many assets can you throw at one position? Well, my answer would be until you've got one that you can reliably count on. I think you keep throwing until you solve it. Like this is to me, it's like talking about the wide receiver thing when people say, well, they're not good at drafting wide receivers. So you just give up?
Right.
So you just never have any wide receivers? Like, I get it. They're not good at drafting wide receivers, but they need to figure out wide receiver, and Odell Beckham's only here for a year at this moment. So I am in no ways dismissing wide receiver. Plus, they still only have 2, and that's provided Odell Beckham is healthy and some version of Odell Beckham next season.
Wouldn't they have 3?
If you're counting Duvernay. But
yeah, Duvernay.
I hope that Duvernay proves to be a guy. I hope that's the case. It's been so.
What was his injury?
He was
his foot, right?
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't Ellis Frank though.
I'm trying to remember what it was, and I'm gonna have to look it
All
up
right.
because I don't off the top of my head. Yeah, he was limping. It was a foot. I don't know exactly what the injury was, but to the point, I would agree that cornerback is the most pronounced immediate need. Like that's the place where you say we would be uncomfortable fielding what we have at second cornerback. Like to say we're going to line up Brandon Stevens as our second corner right now is unnerving. Whereas you could say, hey, as long as both Bateman and Beckham are healthy, you can live with your top 2 wide receivers if you have to. You obviously can live at running back and at tight end, and you think you're going to figure it out in replacing Ben Powers. You think you have internal options. So basically everywhere else, you can say we're at least okay with what we have to run out there except for that second cornerback spot.
I asked KZ last night, and he did have a name. I said, is there a guy – I'm not talking about the Ravens surprising us and moving up to the number 3 pick and getting a quarterback or even taking this hooker,
Not the double hooker.
Not the
just
double
Hendon
hooker.
hooker. Yes, correct.
But I said, is there a
Designated
name out
hooker.
there – is there a name out there in later round of a quarterback? And he mentioned this guy, Cade.
Oh, yeah.
Cade Ballou.
Thank you. Oh, my God. I
From
know exactly.
Houston,
Yes.
From Houston. And he got very excited about him. He's saying he's really a guy that I think will go somewhere in the 4th, 5th, or 6th round.
Bartlett. Cade Bartlett, right?
Bartlett.
Yeah, Cade Bartlett. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Wait, is that the one? No, that's not the
Clayton
one.
Toon. Is that who
Toon.
we're thinking of?
Clayton Toon is the
Clayton
Houston
Toon.
quarterback. Cade
Right.
Bartlett was
McNeese.
McNeese. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Different Houston.
Getting 2 guys thrown together right now.
Right. So anyway, he was really going. So do you think the Ravens will take a quarterback in the draft?
I'm in a weird place with that, right?
Yeah.
Where I can understand the argument, but at the same time, you're going to have Huntley and Brown on your roster too.
Right.
So to take a quarterback
Would Brown have to be on your roster?
wouldn't have to be, but
I mean, he made it sound like this guy's a heck of a football player.
I get it. I understand that. And look, there is the possibility you can find that guy. And yes, obviously, again, if they're not going to get a long-term deal done with Lamar and you're going to keep going through this thing, at some point you have to cut bait. But I don't think you're cutting bait with Lamar Jackson to give Clayton Toon your starting quarterback job in the future. I think if you're cutting bait with Lamar, it's because you do finally get a legitimate, real trade offer that involves you getting a pick that you use on your actual quarterback. Am I opposed to it? Not necessarily. Like I don't feel strong enough about Tyler Huntley, frankly. Like I like him, nice guy, good story, but I'd rather have an upgrade there, as if there's some, unfortunately, as you saw, if the situation were to play out where you need somebody to play a couple games this year, I'd rather have a better quarterback on the field than Tyler Huntley. If that guy could also end up being, like you feel so confident about him at some point, then that's a good problem to have. I guess I would say it would be lower on my priority list of things for the Ravens to do. They have tied themselves to Lamar Jackson. Whatever anybody's opinion is, they have tied themselves to Lamar Jackson. So if that's the case, then I think they need to try to put as good of a football team around Lamar Jackson as they possibly can to go try to win this year. So it would make that lower on my list of priorities. Not a this would be insane. Just I would rather them get cornerback, wide receiver, another edge rusher, another interior offensive lineman that could be an option perhaps to replace Ben Powers down the road. Those would be higher priorities for me than drafting a quarterback in the first 4 rounds of the draft. The way that I would feel about it. I am like Ken. I am convinced they're trading out of 20. And with Hendon Hooker being the wild card, with them perhaps being able to get a team to
That
wants to jump in front of Minnesota, that just makes it valuable to them, and them saying, look, if internally they think Deonte Banks is significantly better than Cam Smith, if they believe that strong, then take that guy.
Right.
I will forever say that. I will always prefer you get rock star player over multiple picks.
And is Minnesota directly after the Ravens?
Correct. The next pick is Minnesota.
Next pick.
Yep, the next pick is Minnesota. And there's just this common belief.
Are there any history where a team like that will give the Ravens something?
It has happened.
Trade up just so the Ravens don't deal
trade
with
it to
somebody
else. Correct. It normally does not happen until basically you get to the pick, right? Like you get to the pick, your phone is telling you somebody else is calling the Ravens, so you then.
Yeah.
Like ahead of time, it would not be a trade that would make sense for Minnesota to make because they're saying, well, the Ravens aren't going to trade.
Then somebody will jump in front of their new pick.
So now what was the point of doing?
The last
so you get to the pick, and the Ravens, you find out from somebody else.
How many seconds do you have?
You have 10 minutes, I believe, now in the first round. 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So you find out, somebody's on your phone saying, look, man, the Ravens are talking to the Raiders right now. Right. And then you pick up and say, all right, what are the Raiders going to give you? We're giving you literally the next pick. Right. So you're going to get the same guy that you wanted here. You're going to get with the next pick. You're not going to run the risk of moving back 10 picks, and we'll throw in whatever it is the Raiders were going to throw in, too, in order to make that
And that might
palatable.
Something like that could happen like with 2 minutes to go in the 10 minutes
100%.
Because you don't want to take the chance of giving,
Yep. Now, you famously run into the Byron Leftwich risk where you don't get the card up there in time or whatever. Yeah. But, yes, I think that they will play that out for sure. All right, Stan.
Draft is in KC this year.
In Kansas City, yes, indeed. Starting on Thursday night.
Thursday night, 1 round.
Yep.
Friday night, 2 rounds.
Yes.
And then Saturday, the rest of the whole
Exactly correct. Exactly right.
All right.
All right, Griffin, let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by A.J. Michaels, expert and award-winning A.J. Michaels. Heating. They do everything at A.J. Michaels, by the way. It's heating, AC, plumbing, and home performance. They're going to help you improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is coming up fast. New rebates and discounts are available.
Like fast, like 90
today,
degrees
yes,
today.
Correct.
Yeah.
Today is
and
exactly
you weren't
right.
ready for it.
Not at all.
So now we're warning you.
100%. Get it taken care of now because there will probably be one more cool spell before we're definitively into summer. There'll probably be one more week where it cools down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it's hell.
It fools you
it's
at night,
Satan's taint after that.
Because it fools you because at night it can still get cool.
You need a little. This morning, after I felt it last night, I thought I needed to grab my little thin jacket. Yeah. I sure as hell do not need my little thin jacket today. No. Not necessary. No. Again, ajmichaels.com is how you find out more. What you got?
Jamal Murray on Wednesday night? Yeah, Wednesday night. He became the 3rd player ever to have
I'm interested in the fact that you're doing like all NBA right now. We don't have a team here.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're easy. They're easy. A lot of stats come from the NBA. I also like doing them on Tuesday, Thursdays, so that Charles can participate in the tidbit.
Okay, well, today's not one of those days.
I know. Well,
Go ahead.
I'm pointing this out.
Go ahead.
This won't be the actual trivia. 3rd player ever to have more 40-point games in the postseason than the regular season, as he now has 5 postseason games with 40 or more points to his 4 regular season games.
Norman Powell had 40 points last night.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess he hasn't had a lot of 40-point games in his career.
Well,
either.
so with at least 2 postseason games.
Okay,
there are 2 other players, Penny Hardaway and Sam Castle, both have 2 playoff games.
No, please don't. No, you didn't just say that, did you?
What did I say?
Did you hear what he just said?
He said Penny Hardaway.
And did you hear the second name that he said?
Tassel?
No. He said Sam Castle.
Castle. So I didn't know who he was. Sam Cassell.
Yes. Sam Cassell. That's what I said.
It's an age thing.
It's like one of the most iconic basketball players in Baltimore history.
Yeah, but he doesn't
somebody
know
you
that.
should know.
He doesn't know that.
Someone you should know.
Yeah.
Sam Cassell. Yes. Let's work on that.
All right.
Believe still an assistant with the Sixers, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think
he is still on staff.
I think he'll make a great.
Well, I think he could have made a great head coach a few years ago. I talked to Sam last spring after the Sixers got eliminated,
right?
And I could kind of hear in his voice some of the frustration he was feeling about being this deep and not having gotten a chance yet.
Was he a disciple at some point? Popovich hired him as an assistant, didn't he?
I don't think so. I don't think he was ever in San Antonio.
Okay.
He was in Washington for a little bit
Right.
as an assistant. Then I'm pretty sure it was with the Clippers after that with Doc, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Well, no, maybe
Well, speaking of head
Yeah,
coaching
go ahead.
vacancies,
Yeah.
Nick Nurse just got fired from Toronto.
not that far removed from having won an NBA title.
Yeah, that is correct. In his rookie year as the coach, and
Right.
so he became the 9th rookie coach to ever win a NBA Finals. And I want to see, just quickly, I want to see if you guys can name the 3 guys before him that won in their rookie year.
Almost no chance.
Okay.
Well,
2016,
Ty Lue.
Yes, Tyronn
right.
Lue.
Ty
was
Lue,
most
of course, was
recently
one of them.
before Nick Nurse.
Oh, Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr the year before that, and then it was big, long gap before this Los Angeles Lakers.
Oh, the
coach.
guy that was in the documentary. What the hell was the guy's name?
1982.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
80. Oh, so then it was Pat
That
Riley.
was Pat Riley, yes.
So then what was who was the guy that was in the damn it. The guy that it was Paul you know who I'm Paul Westhead. Paul Westhead.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Won that
was
first
it-
title with when
Yeah.
what's his face was in the bike accident.
Right.
It was Paul Westhead
Westhead
who
a
won the
championship.
title
Yeah.
that year,
Yeah.
and he would have been a rookie coach for sure.
Yeah.
But that would have been Pat
Yes,
Riley would have
yeah,
been
yeah,
after
Paul
that.
Westhead, yeah, in
Yes.
1980.
By the way,
yeah.
there's no connection between Sam Cassell and Popovich directly, but just read a piece. He's going to interview for the Rockets job. Sam Cassell.
Well, didn't he
He
play?
may be going under the name of Sam Castle. now.
Maybe that's who it is. He played in Houston, right? Didn't he start his
Yes,
career
yes, he
in
did,
Houston?
yeah.
Sam Cassell.
All right, and then I saw this.
Rooting for Sam. Love Sam
Love Sam
Cassell.
Cassell.
Rooting for Sam Cassell. Of course, won a title with the Celtics.
Now, he's a guest you would have on if he gets that job. You would reach out and probably.
we
have him.
definitely reach out and try to make that happen. And again, I talked to him. It was a connection through Rita that I got in touch with him last year.
Right.
After the playoffs were over, he was like, I'll come on your show, but I can't talk about the Sixers. I was like, that's awkward. Like, that's a weird. That's kind of what you're doing right now. He was like, well, if you just wanted to
political,
if you just wanted to talk about like the finals or something, we could do that. I was like, all right, we'll see what we can do. I like Sam a lot. I really do.
I hope he gets that job.
No question.
Okay,
It'd
so
be
I
awesome.
saw a stat going around earlier in the week about golden sombreros is the most players or the most games.
Chris Davis.
Chris Davis is number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I figured that was probably where we were going.
Most games with an 0 for 4 and 4 strikeouts. So yeah, Chris Davis is number 1 on this list. 17 games.
It's not the least surprising thing you've ever told me in the history.
So
of
I wanna-
career golden
career sombreros.
Who else is on the list?
Yes, I want to see if you guys name the top 9. They all have 11 or more games of 4 strikeouts.
Mark
and
Reynolds.
4 at-bats. Mark Reynolds is just outside of making the cut here. He had
And this
8,
is in
I
the
believe.
history of the game?
Yes.
How many guys
Not
did-
9 for Mark Reynolds.
How many guys did you say there were?
9.
No.
Oh,
So you have 1.
Gorman Thomas on there?
Gorman Thomas is he is just outside of my
How
cutoff.
about
He
Dave
had 10.
Kingman? Dave
Ooh,
Kingman?
that's a good one.
Dave Kingman also not
Just
on my list.
outside.
What about Ryan Howard?
Ryan Howard is
Yeah,
I
he's-
thought he was on the list. He is not on the list.
Really?
Yeah, he is also just outside with 9 games.
Big
9
strikeout.
Really
sombreros.
surprising.
9 sombreros for Ryan Howard.
All-time strikeout. God,
This is more difficult than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, every single name on here. Is
Oh, how about Joey Gallo?
Joey Gallo, yeah, 16. So hopefully he
Oh,
breaks Chris Davis's
he's
record.
going to break
Yeah, right.
Chris's record.
He's gonna
I
he's
know
gonna
one
sail
guy that's
past
rooting
it.
for him.
Yeah,
It's Chris
right.
Davis.
Take that off the list.
And Mark Reynolds wasn't one of them.
How about Stanton? He strikes
yes,
out a lot, right?
Giancarlo
Yeah.
Stanton, 12. He is tied for
Very
5th
good.
with 12 sombreros in his career. Chasing Chris Davis.
Aaron Judge?
Not Aaron Judge.
Okay.
I like where your head's at. I'm gonna say Jim Thome.
Jim Thome, not on this list.
Okay.
How many are like old-time like from the 60s or 70s?
None, really
None.
none. Yeah,
So
they're
it's
all
all
like
recent.
80s. Yeah,
It's all
80s
recent
is
stuff.
the most recent.
Oh, God.
That's Sammy Sosa.
Not Sammy Sosa.
How about Josh Bell?
Not Josh Bell.
Oh, I like Josh Bell.
Yeah.
How about the big Adam Dunn?
Adam Dunn is 3rd on this list. 14
Very good, very good.
sombreros for Adam Dunn.
Big donkey.
How about the new Red Sox guy who's only been in the league for 3 weeks, Yoshida?
Oh, you
He's
think
on my
he's already
fantasy-
he's already,
on my
he's already
fantasy
made the
team.
list?
No, he's not. He has less than 8.
I'll
at
try
least.
Mark Trumbo.
Trumbo not on the list.
I'm really trying to rack my brain.
Yeah, you might have to start guiding us.
One
to
of them
some
is
places.
an active player. One of them is a set of twins, no longer active, but he's a set of twins. He has one half of
Minnesota Twins, not twin
Yeah.
brothers.
No, twin brothers. Yes.
Wait.
Yeah.
They're actually twin brothers?
Yeah. But
Uptons.
yeah.
Both Justin and
no, just
BJ.
Just one of them.
Or Melvin.
Uptons. It is BJ.
Yeah.
BJ Upton. Okay,
Yes,
that
BJ
makes
Upton had
sense.
11
That's a good-
sombreros in his career.
Wow.
Still one more active player.
One more active.
Active
And there's a
player.
two-sport athlete on this list.
Oh, Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson had 12 sombreros in his career.
I didn't know that, but there's only so many,
Yeah.
and it wasn't going to be Dion.
How many
so.
golden sombreros did Michael Jordan have in his
Yeah,
minor league
probably had a
career?
few. Garth Brooks when he was playing spring training with the Padres or whatever.
This active player is on the Mariners. Yeah, he's on the Mariners right now.
Active Mariner that has.
Before that, in Cincinnati for the bulk of his career.
Oh,
Not Winker.
Not Winker.
Not Winker.
The other
Because
guy in
Winker's
that,
on
yeah.
Milwaukee. Oh, Eugenio Suarez.
Eugenio Suarez.
I didn't realize he had that many. I didn't
13
realize that.
sombreros. He is
Wow.
fourth
Okay.
all time
Wow.
with 13 sombreros.
All right, well, he might pass Gallo and Chris Davis.
The other two guys, he was with the This guy was with the Brewers, and then the other guy with the Giants for most of his career.
Kevin Mitchell?
Tigers, not the Giants. He started his career with the Tigers.
Tigers and the
90s.
Brewers?
The other guy, Brewers. This guy started his career with
Cecil
the Tigers.
Fielder?
Not Cecil Fielder.
In the 90s,
In
you
the
said?
90s, he started with the Tigers.
Rob Deere?
Rob Deere
Rob
is
Deere.
on this
He was
list.
That's a
definitely
very
a
good-
donkey.
very
He
good
was for
guess,
sure
yeah.
a
Yeah.
big softball
I was
swinger.
trying to think of guys like that, and
But he would also like
He
he
was
would
on the Brewers.
Rob Deere would either strike out or hit a ball legitimately out of Tiger Stadium. Like it would leave the actual.
So the
you're-
last guy is.
I was referring to him on the Brewers. So this guy, the other guy, is still a Tiger. He started his career with the Tigers in the 90s.
So Deere played for both teams,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
played for both of them. He ended his career with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Started with the Tigers, ended with the Diamondbacks. Man.
God.
Kinda hit me.
Travis Fryman.
No.
Travis
I've got
Fryman
no
never ended
clue.
up with the
I've got
Diamondbacks.
no clue. Tony Clark.
Yeah, Tony
Oh,
Clark.
good
Yeah, there
one.
you go. Tony
Good
Clark.
one.
Now,
Absolutely.
I just
well
happened
done.
to look over at his computer,
Yeah.
Oh, and
and
you look,
no,
you saw-
I did not see
Oh,
the
okay.
name Tony Clark. I was looking over at you, and I saw a picture of Tony Clark.
Oh,
as-
okay.
As
All
the head
right,
of the
all
MLB.
right. But that is good.
That
is
is a
good.
good one.
Yeah,
That is a good
Tony
one.
Clark.
Didn't he
Most
play
of
with?
those.
So he played with both teams. He was a Tiger.
He was a Tiger.
I believe
Oh, and
he's.
did end with Arizona.
I think he. I
Yeah,
thought he
ended
snuck
with-
in a cameo somewhere else too. I thought he
was
had
with,
a.
he was
Arizona.
with both New York's and Boston
Bo-
as
yeah.
well for
Yeah.
a season each.
I thought that was the case. All right, good deal. Good deal. Tidbit was also brought to you today by Birdland Sports. If you want your own Homer hose, you can go right now to birdlandsports.com. They're available for $15. Birdlandsports.com to get your own Homer hose.
So when the bullpen gets their
sprinklers.
yeah,
well,
their
they're going to do,
sprinklers,
but
they
they're
can
not.
They can do the 4-bag fountain maybe.
The
So-
4-bag fountain. All right, I think we might be trying too hard. We might be
How about
trying
the
too
golden
hard.
sombrero, something. So
I don't think anybody wants to celebrate that. Or you say if the
We'll celebrate
pitcher,
with Joey
when
Gallo.
the pitcher
They-
records someone's
right,
fourth strikeout.
right.
Now I'm listening to you on that. I'm not opposed to it. Tubular is brought to you this weekend by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Masson 2 for Orioles and Tigers tonight. I don't know why, because the Orioles are at home. That makes no sense, but I don't make the rules. Michael Lorenzen, Tyler Wells tonight at 7 o'clock. Tomorrow night at 7, it's Joey Wentz and Kyle Gibson. By the way, the rest of the country, tomorrow night's game is also on FS1. And on Sunday at 1:30, TBA and Grayson Rodriguez.
Can I just interject something?
Yes.
I don't know if you'd mentioned it today. I don't think you have. Apparently, it now looks like Bryce Harper could be back in early May
Oh, that's significant.
in an unbelievable return
really
from
is.
Tommy John.
Quite significant, no doubt about that. Wow, okay. Anyway, sorry. Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. My brain was just... Tomorrow night, of course, the big story of the weekend is the fight, Showtime pay-per-view, Gervonta Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia at 8 o'clock, $84.99. So if you are ordering the fight and you'd like somebody to stop by with beer, that's what Stan used to do. And I would normally bring a beer that nobody would drink, and so I would leave having
With
watched
your
the fight
beer
and with the
and
beer that I
very
brought.
smart.
It was a really, really savvy move on my part.
That's
Lacrosse.
supposed to be a pretty darn good fight.
Well, it's by far the biggest fight of his career,
and
by far.
and will that fight
Yes.
go off at
11,
o'clock,
I would say, in that
11:15?
range. Yeah, somewhere
probably.
in that neighborhood. Yep. Yeah, if you're watching the fight or you're getting together, let me know, and I will try to come join you if possible. Okay, tomorrow night, Hopkins, Maryland. Of course, big night of lacrosse tomorrow night in the. How's the weather shaking out? Where are we at with that?
So we are now. We're 24 hours
I'm
out
a little bit
here.
nervous about that because I do kind of want to take the kids if possible. Yeah, I'm very. What you got for me? What you got for me? The Hopkins, Maryland game is at 6 o'clock down in College Park. It's on Big Ten Network if you can't make it out. And
It's not great. It's going to be raining tomorrow.
like that.
Tomorrow will be rain in the forecast.
Army-Navy lacrosse tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on CBS Sports Network from down in Annapolis. Playoff action throughout the weekend. You can find it all at GlennClarkRadio.com. I'll let you find everything else at GlennClarkRadio.com. Anything non-sports-wise that stands out?
There is a series. FX is doing a new documentary series, Dear Mama. It is about Tupac and his mom, and the story of how he helped her, how she helped him, that kind of thing.
Right.
So that is on FX. The new movie Ghosted on Apple TV Plus with Chris Evans and Ana de Armas.
Right, yeah.
I think it's supposed to be a rom-com. And a new show called Dead Ringers on Prime Video. Rachel Wise, she plays twins, but they both are like gynecologists. It's a show about like cloning, I think. And that's what I think the big twist is going to be. Rachel Wise cloned herself.
Okay.
Is what it's like a psycho thriller.
I think I'm gonna
here.
pass.
Oh, come on.
Rachel Wise is married to Daniel Craig.
Is she really?
James
Did I know
Bond,
that?
yeah.
I don't know that I even knew that. Good for her.
I
I mean, good for him too, but mostly good for her.
Yeah.
Otherwise, not a whole lot. The new episode of The Power with Josh Charles, a new episode of Marvelous Miss Maisel, new episodes as well of Succession, Barry, and Lucky Hank on Sunday nights.
Lucky Hank's good.
I like Lucky Hank.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
I'm a little bit behind because I don't know why I just haven't. Oh, you know what? I had to download an app on my. My wife downloaded an app on our Fire Stick that is taking up a lot of space. And now I have to pick and choose what else I want to do. I had to delete the Tennis Channel app for a couple weeks until the French Open starts. I mean, I'll get it back.
Right.
Last night I had to download the NBA app in order to watch the Suns game. So now that we're cord cutters, until I figure out how to get more space, because she has one particular app called Plex that takes up a lot of space.
What does that do?
I think it might be. I think it might actually be stealing things. I think it might actually.
Will that
be
app help you watch the Gervonta
fight? I don't think so. No, I'm not getting involved with that. I think it. I don't know. I don't really understand Plex. I don't know what it is because it doesn't look like it's illegal in any way. But there's a lot of stuff on Plex, and I'm like, this is weird. This feels like it shouldn't. Isn't that also on another app? It's very weird. All right, very good. Stan, you will be on tomorrow morning with the boys.
I'll be on tomorrow morning with the boys. Monday, Ross and I will be doing something. Thursday, we will not be on because John Colson reminded me
It's
that
the NFL
draft
draft, yes,
is
on
on. I had to cancel Pat Scarry for a second time because I hectically rescheduled
I'm gonna
him
be honest with
right
you.
into the.
I think he might hate you now.
No,
You're gonna
he
have
doesn't.
to. I think
talked
he
to him.
might.
I called him
Yeah,
directly,
but you should
and
see
he
the.
does not hate
You should see the text he sent me, Stan. I got bad news.
Is this kind of like?
Who was it that we said didn't want to talk to you? Was it
Mike
Tirico?
Tirico,
Yeah,
Tirico does not
hated
like
you.
Stan.
Just hated you,
What
unfortunately.
did I ever
But
do to Mike Tirico?
Gonna have to figure that out and solve that problem. All right. Well, we'll look forward to that on Monday, and of course, you'll be doing power rankings as well.
Power rankings. Yes.
PressBoxOnline.com, and you and Luke will
yes.
do a video about that as well
Yeah.
on Monday. All right. Thanks today to the pitching ninja, Rob Friedman.
Something is coming up Monday. I'm glad you brought that up, and I was just racking my head.
Yes?
I'm having a procedure done.
Uh-oh.
And I've talked to the doctor. It should not affect my throat, but it is something going
Now,
down
have you
my throat.
have you chosen a new name? Is it going to be like
No.
Stephanie?
This
or
is not a
Oh, okay.
gender
All right.
gender
Well,
thing.
I wanted you to know I was going to support you
Yeah.
I just wanted to be the one to tell you. Whatever the choices are.
My long-term plan as I aged
Yes.
was a gender thing, changing genders to make money in pro sports.
See?
You know? And now, who knew the political environment?
It's going to ruin it for you. Those jerks. You had it all mapped out. Well, I wish you well. Everything's going to be all right?
Yeah,
okay.
I hope so.
All right, I hope that's the case.
Yeah. But Luke and I will confer about that. It might be like 4 or 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Something like that, because I might be a little dry.
I get it. Well, that actually might be more entertaining, Stan. You might want to consider doing the show when you're in that. We might want to get a camera on you in that situation. Get some real Stan the Fan feelings.
How do you feel about John Colson?
Right.
How do you feel about Luke Jackson?
Yeah, well, we already told you. You already told us how you felt about Kyle earlier. We can really get to the bottom of things.
Love Kyle.
All right, thanks today to the pitching ninja, Rob Friedman, and to Mike Baumann. Those are fun conversations this morning. We'll get them both up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tony Skin's going to join us on Monday, former Maryland assistant, now the head coach at George Mason, of course, a George Mason basketball legend. So a cool move for him. By the way, if you missed it yesterday, Tavon Sadler is going to Nichols to be the head coach. So 3 people that were on the staff for Kevin Willard last year are now all head coaches at the D1 level this season.
Wow.
It's pretty wild. Tony Skinn, Grant Billmeyer, and now Tavon Sadler, a Baltimore native, who will be the head coach at Nichols moving forward. So congratulations to him. But another role that will have to be filled on, a director of ops role that will have to be filled on the staff for Kevin Willard.
Is there any new news on
Hunter Dickinson? Apparently he's going to go to Kentucky, too. He's going to visit Kentucky as well. So I don't love that.
I talked to my buddy Bruce Posner the other day. He's convinced he's doing all of this to get more money out of Michigan.
That might to go back
to Michigan.
Okay, all right, maybe.
He brought up an interesting thing. He and his daughter were talking about the degree. Now, look, he's going to plan on playing, I guess, pro ball, right? But the degree from Michigan has a great deal of value in it.
I don't disagree, but a degree from Maryland has a lot of value too, more so than
not comparatively in terms of big corporate hires and all that. Michigan is like
I would have to know
top
specifically what is it that he's. If it's a business degree, you're right.
It's a business degree.
100%, 100%, no question about that. All right, very good. Thanks to everybody at Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners, AJ Michaels, Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Hartford Community College, Birdland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin, at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great weekend. Go Birds, go local lacrosse teams, Duke, and go, I guess, Tank Davis. Duke sucks.